God. It looked like I just got up, didn't I? Don't I? But I didn't. I actually have been out and about this entire morning. God, I just look like a slob. Hi, good morning. Good morning, everybody. I think my hair looks really like... you know what I look like? I look like Karen Black. Do you remember that actress, Karen Black? No, we didn't yet. Ugh. I hate looking for apartments. I hate moving. I want a house. I just want a little tiny ADU out in the middle of nowhere, but that's not possible. That's not going to happen this time. Oh, I see. I'm like, why did I not hear myself? It's because I have my ears in. Anyways, good morning. Good morning. Melanie Trump is going to have a roundtable discussion about what? About what? About what's she going to discuss? I don't even understand. Did you find, let's see, Badger. Hi, good morning, Badger and Grace, Lisa, and Jim, and Kevin. Good to see you. Grace, Lisa, meowing, meow, meow, meow. And oomph, doot, doot, doot. Yeah, sorry. I thought I got home earlier and I just was like, I can't sit around. I can't sit around, especially when Russ Vogt is talking. I can't just not watch that with people because I literally, this is the thing, you guys. I couldn't even listen to it, like, you know, driving or whatever, because I was so like, I can't listen to this unless I have people around me that know how bad Russ Vogt is. So I said, I gotta start early because I can't handle this. I can't watch it alone. So yeah, anyways, so I thought I'd go live a little earlier. I'm trying to figure out this whole schedule thing. Right now it's a little up in the air because we are looking at moving, and the whole point of moving is, you know, so that Bobo can be closer to work, and because her hours are like 7 to 7, and so it's like quality of life and a bunch of other things. I've got the pool guys coming over to get the pool up and running. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm tired of looking at the cover. Oh, that's going to be exciting, Jim. That's good. They should just let her speak Slovenian and have a translator. I know. Well, that's true. You know, I don't really. And, you know, whatever. She didn't learn all the English language. I just don't like her acting like she's so innocent and she's so, you know, oh, I didn't do anything. Oh, what's the matter? I'm just a girl from Slovenia that doesn't speak English, but it's cute. Isn't it cute when I mispronounce words? Isn't that cute? That's kind of what she reminds me of. One of those girls, like, oh, isn't it cute? No, it's not cute. No. Nobody thinks it's cute. Anyway, so without further ado, I think we should go ahead and get into Russ Vogt. I am going to run him back to his opening statements because those are really, I did hear a little bit of those and they're very upsetting, so I wouldn't get too excited. I will be skipping through, as usual, I will be skipping through a lot of the Republican questioning because, quite frankly, I just don't give a shit. That's the way it is. So, yeah, that's just the way it is. I don't give a shit if what the Republicans have to ask him about. She's lived here for over 30 years. It's like she didn't even make an effort. Of course she didn't make an effort. She doesn't have to make an effort to do anything. She's figured out what is making her happy. Off to surgery. Oh my God, Kevin, good luck. Good luck, Kev. Oh my goodness. Let us know how you do. Today she is going to talk about foster care. That's ridiculous. Yeah, what? And what has she done to get the Ukrainian children back from... Remember when she was all up in the Ukrainian children must be returned to their families. Yeah, sure. Sure. Hi, Neil. Neil's here. Neil was in a dentist parking lot, and that's why he couldn't join the show yesterday, because that dentist is anti-Lolo. They have a firewall just for me. Terrible. Yes. Good luck, Kevin. We're sending a lot of love with you, my friend. Okay, well, let me get him pulled up here. Anti-dentite. Yeah, exactly. God damn. Hi, Teresa. How are you doing, darling? Okay. Let me get my shit together here. I don't really have my shit together this morning, but that's fine. Since when has that made a difference? Okay. Ugh. Jody Arrington. My dentist hates dinosaur suits. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's okay. I'm used to it. I'm used to dentists hating me. It's okay. All right. That's good. I correctly assumed it was a restricted network. Wait, I correctly assumed it was a restricted network. Wait a minute. I don't know what that means. Bye, Neil. Where are you going? Wait, no. Wait. Are you leaving because your dentist doesn't like us? Oh, man. Oh, man. All right, let's get this going. We're already behind.
It's important,
Oops.
Director, to hear the President's vision and priorities for resourcing the people's government.
Can you hear it okay?
To provide for the common defense. It's important to hear about the President's vision and priorities for stewarding the people's treasure to promote the general welfare of the public. And it's important to hear the President's vision and priority for resourcing the government to protect and preserve
restrictions. Yeah.
to secure the blessings
that's
of
fine.
liberty for the next generation. That's why I think this is the most important committee.
I'm propaganda.
In
I
the
get
United
it.
States Congress, Russ. And that's why meetings like today and discussions and debates like today, I think, are paramount for the governing of our great nation. With that, I'm just going to jump into yielding myself such time as I may desire. Okay, no notes here, just some thoughts. We've done well to have some constructive conversation and have civil tone. Today, I suspect, will be a little more amped up. And I'm pretty amped up myself. I hope we hear honest, constructive comments and good faith debate, but I suspect we're going to hear some spin. I anticipate we'll hear some false narratives and fear-mongering, conjecture, and even flat-out misrepresentations of the truth. That's what I expect, sadly. I hope that didn't happen.
And that's just from me.
But what I think is important, Director and colleagues,
Good morning.
is
Hello,
that
Michael.
we put out what I believe is factual context to this conversation. Russ, I don't know of a president in my lifetime,
Oh, boy.
maybe in history, but in my lifetime, that has inherited
Oh,
such
my
a complete
God.
and utter mess
Oh,
as
my God.
President Trump did in January of last year.
Well, he certainly doubled down on that mess, didn't he?
One self-inflicted disaster after another for 4 years
Oh.
of the Biden-Harris administration.
Yeah, exactly. Male fundy
Utter
voice.
lawlessness, incompetence,
Lawlessness and incompetence as adjudicated by whom? Okay, as adjudicated by whom? Because the law has actually come down on your buddy a lot more than it ever came down on the Biden administration. So your attempt to paint the Biden administration as some wanton, as the Trump regime, basically, what he's describing is the Trump regime. But this is where we are. This man cannot be honest. For his own constituents, he cannot be honest and speak truth to power. He must obey. This is what you voted for. You voted for people who must obey. And that is fucking ridiculous. Wow. This is really craven, and there's a place in hell for Jody Arrington. Believe me, he's already got his spot.
a border that was wide open, millions of people, criminals, gangs, drugs that killed a plane load of Americans effectively every week, more people dying of the drugs coming across the border than the people dying from the Vietnam War. Again, all because of the dereliction of duty to uphold the laws of this land and a failure to do the first and most important job. Which
I
is
know. I don't blame you, Grace Lisa.
The
I
American
do not
people
blame
suffered.
you.
Our
Unfortunately, this is what we're
resources were
surrounded
drained,
by.
Our safety was jeopardized, and there
Actually,
was
you're
no
right. I
rule
can't
of
listen to
law
this either. He's not going to go anywhere I
cornerstone
want
of
him to
any
go.
Civil society.
Oh my God, he still talks.
We had feckless foreign policy.
Politics.
See if we can get some sanity. Mr. Boyle.
Or even lower than during the Great Recession. If you look at the job creation over the last 15 months, there's one thing missing, and that's job creation. We have been in a jobless economy over the last 15 months. Inflation, which actually, even though there's no question, we had an inflation crisis, not just in the United States, but all throughout the world after the COVID pandemic in 2022, after the pandemic had ended. Every single month in 2024, inflation dropped over the preceding month. What happened around April of last year? Liberation Day? Inflation was liberated. You saw inflation begin to increase, and every single month we've seen inflation increase. And gas prices. Yesterday, I was in Northeast Philly, where I'm from and where I live, a working class part of the city of Philadelphia. Was in front of a gas station. The gas at that particular location was $4.11, which is slightly lower than the average nationally and in the United States of about $4.15 a gallon. 6 weeks ago, that same gas station was under $3 a gallon. We've seen over the last month the largest increase in gas prices in my lifetime, in the lifetime of most people here. What's different about this economy, unlike the inflation crisis after the pandemic, unlike the Great Recession, unlike the recession of 2001, unlike the recession of 1992, the economic downturn that we're experiencing, no jobs, record inflation, gas prices through the roof, consumer confidence plummeting, all of this is directly related to the policies of the Trump administration.
You're right.
That you carry out, Mr. Vogt. None of those previous examples that I cited, none of them could be directly attributed to the policies of the president at that time. We can debate about certain things that did influence them, particularly going into the 2008 recession. But with this president, the change is so abrupt. The fact inflation was dropping month over month. The fact that we had an incredible jobs economy until it was lost a year and a half ago. You know, I'm from Pennsylvania, the biggest battleground state in the nation, also the nation's birthplace, which we're making a big to-do about this year in 2026 and celebrating our semi-quincentennial. But Pennsylvania is really known over the last decade in our politics as the nation's biggest battleground state. So as a result, basically every day in 2024 in the fall, we had either Donald Trump or the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris, in our state.
I don't think it's 98.
Donald Trump had, I have to say, a brilliant campaign slogan. Said, your prices are too high.
I don't think it's $98 a gallon. Looks
I
like
will
$5
lower
a
them,"
gallon.
and I quote him, I will lower them on day one. Well, here we are about day 450. He hasn't lowered anything. The only thing he's lowered is his approval rating on the economy. He has lowered that.
$9. Oh my God, $9.
Donald Trump,
Holy shit.
and this administration,
I could see that.
have failed miserably.
I've seen
on this
$7.50
economy.
gas out
They
here.
failed to bring prices down, and in fact,
I pay
made
about
the situation worse. With that,
in East Hollywood, we're paying about $5.20 a gallon right now for like 89 level gas. Yeah, it's like $5.20 is where I am. But in like if you go west in Los Angeles to like Hollywood, like Central Hollywood, West LA, Beverly Hills, etc., all that, Santa Monica, it's more like 6 or 7. So, yeah, about 7 is what I've seen in LA. But I try not to get gas in places where it's going to be really expensive, because it can be wildly different between between areas of the city, which is weird. But that's it.
We have a lot of questions on this side since it's been 15 months. You're the first OMB director ever to not appear before this committee last year. I appreciate you at least today taking the time. We have a lot of questions, and I certainly hope after today, if we send to you questions in writing, that you would respond finally.
Answer the
All of our
questions.
previous requests. It's a matter of basic respect for the Congress of the United States and for this committee. And with that, I yield back.
I thank the ranking member. In the interest of time, if any other member has an opening statement, I ask you to submit it for the record. We'll hold the
Who
record
would?
open to the end of the day.
It's
to
only
accommodate those members who may not have prepared written statements. Now,
what?
I'd like to recognize Director VOUGHT. I want to again thank him for his time. Committee, Mr. VOUGHT has received your written statements.
We're all very embarrassed for you.
You now have 5 minutes for your remarks.
Oh my God.
Ranking Member Boyle, members of the committee, thank you for having me here to testify on the President's budget request for fiscal year 27. I look forward to a productive conversation on how to continue the fiscal progress we've made so far. When President Trump took office, the nation was facing financial catastrophe.
Yes,
under the
exactly.
leadership of the Biden administration, and decades of status quo spending strangling our nation. Those decades produced nothing in the area of fiscal restraint. A lot of talk about the program and the problems, but administration, Congress have made historic progress on righting our fiscal ship, the speed and scope of which have not been seen in Washington for
I love this. This is actually,
President drove enactment of
okay.
the Working Families Tax Cut Act.
I'm going to need you all to just act like this is a comedy. Now, this is very real, unfortunately. But in order to get through the actual presentation of it, I'm going to need us to just laugh at this guy and how much he's trying to sell the American nightmare that we are in. I mean, wait, and I did hear a little bit of him. Wait until you hear how he tries to sell you this American nightmare. It's amazing. Now, this guy actually has a lot riding on this. He is really an architect of what happened when they were inaugurated and then went to town. Russ Vought is the person who authored a lot of that plan of how you would doggy the government down to nothing and do it in a stupid way and just, basically take a hacksaw to the government. So this guy has always been about that, and he doesn't want anyone to get social services. He doesn't think federal. I mean, he's an asshole. He's a total hardcore asshole. And I think he knows, because I think I have him in Nuremberg, I think he knows that he's going to be held accountable for the things that he's tried to do to the American people. And so he's got to act like this is some kind of, and Malay's under investigation. So all of them end up on the side of a wall, Russ. You all end up on the side of a wall. Some of you hanging upside down. Are you ready for that, Russ? Are you ready? Do you care so much about hurting people that you are looking forward to your time on the wall? Because it's coming, honey. It's coming. It comes for all of them. It just does. I don't make the rules. That's history.
Which is a once-in-a-generation legislation to end fiscal futility, invest in critical priorities, and cut taxes for working Americans. This bill bent the cost of...
Mr. VOUGHT, just hold on for a second. The chair notes a disruption in the hearing and requests that the
You don't have
Capitol
to yell.
Police restore
You
order
have a
immediately.
microphone.
The committee will briefly take a recess until we restore order.
So then they come back. They go away. Like literally, they're so shook. They go away and then they come back.
This is not the way this committee works. Never
He's
has.
really mad because you can hear him from the hallway.
I don't think it's going to work.
He
that
does
way
need a new
on
rug.
either side. So let's move those guys.
It's just, if you don't mind, Jody, me, in the 3 years and 3 months since Jody's been chair and I've been ranking member, I think this is the first we've had of this. It's a very serious issue, so I understand why they're passionate. But we have actually, unlike other congressional committees that really do devolve into,
Okay.
highest
I don't care.
program at NPR and PBS. We look forward to the first real spending cut in over a decade to discretionary spending. It rooted out wasteful spending that the administration identified.
This gets
across
hard,
federal
so.
agencies. The enacted bills reaffirm administration policies to eliminate ineffective federal agencies that do not serve a useful purpose. For example, the bills eliminated all programming for USAID as the administration works to fully shut down the agency after decades of mismanagement and abuse. This also includes
It's not true.
illegal
Just not
intervention
true.
of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which funneled billions of taxpayer dollars into the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
He's proud of
which funneled
that.
Billions of taxpayer dollars into biased and woke program.
Yeah, I know.
NPR.
I wouldn't take a tolerance break today.
We look forward to
This is a
working
bad day because there's a lot of bad stuff.
progress in the next appropriation
Mike Walsh is also testifying about the United Nations.
to constrain non-defense spending and reform the federal government. The budget proposes a 10% cut to non-defense compared to
A te-
2026 levels.
This is what he just said about the 27 budget, which is what he's here to talk on. The 27 budget cuts non-defense by 10% from 26 levels where they already cut. I don't understand why there is a mismanagement of our federal government. And I actually don't understand why somebody can't stop it. It doesn't make sense to me that you can't stop a wanton regime. I don't get this. I really don't. This man is pure evil. This man is pure evil.
Within this total, the budget maintains investment in border security and immigration enforcement. It delivers on the president's commitment to support law enforcement
Yeah.
and combat
One audit.
crime with a 13% increase to the
I'm
Department of
not sure what they were chanting. I was trying to
honors
hear
the
it, but
nation's sacred obligation to our military veterans. In addition, this 2027 budget eliminates wasteful Green New Deal projects that are dependent on foreign supply chains, returns control of education back to American families, and roots out waste, fraud, and abuse in programs both at home and abroad, ensuring that every taxpayer dollar makes Americans safer, stronger, and more prosperous. The budget simultaneously builds upon the historic $1 trillion fiscal year 26 defense top line by requesting $1.5 trillion.
What?
2027, a 42%.
a 42% increase? He's asking for this with a straight face. Hi, JFK. I hope you have a good day, too. Thank you so much for coming in. What a love. Thank you, JFK. It's good to see you. He just said that with no irony in his voice. He wants the budget for the defense. They already pushed it to $1 trillion. He wants $1.5 trillion for 27. 1.5, a 42% increase. Who does that? I mean, what? Why do we need so much? Oh my God. I can't with this.
Increase.
I might not be able to do this, huh?
Trump last year. The 2027 budget will ensure that the United States continues to maintain the world's most powerful and capable military as we grapple with
Unbelievable.
increasingly
It's
dangerous world. It is a sizable
unimaginable.
increase, and I want to explain that.
Wow.
It is meant for significant paradigm-shifting investments.
Okay.
For instance, the President and his Department of War
Golden
are
Dome
exhibiting tremendous leadership to build ships, planes, drones,
and
munitions,
chips.
and satellites faster without the backlog of status quo. For the industrial base
does that
to
mean?
double or triple,
I need to
build
drink
more
lights.
facilities, not just add shifts. It requires multi-year agreements to purchase into the future. That cost
Yeah, there's your waste, fraud, and abuse right there.
Under President Trump's bold leadership, every tool in the executive fiscal toolbox has been used to achieve real savings, and our administration will continue.
Where's the audit?
A historic paradigm.
Then where's the audit of what you cut? I would like to know. I want to see the audit of what you cut, and I want the grounds for which you cut every program. That seems like a very reasonable request.
shift in the budget process is occurring, and it is producing real results for the American people.
Yeah, oh, I'll say. Yeah, real right up your butt.
Now that our fiscal
Okay.
ship has finally turned and is facing the right direction, I look forward to working with you to continue to move it forward. We have much work to do. Together, we will achieve significant savings while implementing the President's bold vision.
I thank the gentleman, Director Vogt, and
Okay, Jody.
Q&A, and I will yield myself 5 minutes. So, Director Vogt, you heard my ranking
Again,
member
I don't really give a shit.
put forward some economic metrics to compare and contrast 4 years of Biden-Harris and the first.
This is the able-bodied population in Medicaid that can work.
Oh,
And it will lead to people that
what?
were ineligible for Medicaid previously and
Hi, meowing is going to the war machine. Yeah.
there were substantial reforms made to ensure that states tighten
Wow, 762,000 estimated died because of USAID cuts.
a social safety net that we can afford and is thriving for the American people.
Thank you, Director Vogt. Okay, I'm going to give my ranking member some extra time because I know I went over, and then I'm
Yeah, you did.
unusually disciplined on the clock. But you get some extra time, just in fairness. Okay, so
Sorry,
Your
it was a
Q&A?
gulp on
for 5 minutes.
over 500,000
Thank
children.
you, Mr. Chairman. I want to, there are a lot of areas I would like to get to, but between me and my colleagues, at least on this side of the dais, I think we'll get to them all. Let me start by reminding people back 9 months ago what President Trump called at the time, though he wants to rebrand it and never talks about it now, his one big beautiful bill, though it has been known by many other names. That piece of legislation, despite your rhetoric about this budget committee succeeding on deficit and debt, according to the Congressional Budget Office, as well as other nonpartisan groups, both left of center and right of center, have said that single piece of legislation adds more to our deficit and debt than any other piece of legislation passed by Congress in American history. In addition to the over $4 trillion it adds to our national debt, it eliminates health care coverage for more than 15 million Americans, according to the CBO.
Oh my God.
The Kaiser Family Foundation says it's actually more than 17 million Americans who will lose their health care. Are they really all, according to you? Really? You're going to sit here with a straight face and say they're all illegals, they were all defrauding the system? That's actually your position?
Yes, with regard to the people that have lost, that.
I mean, that's laughable. I'm sorry, I'll give you a chance to respond.
You had a number of issues with regard to your comments there.
Wait.
So what?
Number one.
Sorry, wait.
No, it's not your
I
time.
just want to be clear. I'm citing, we acknowledge, the CBO figure. That's where I'm getting the 15 million from, and the Kaiser Family Foundation says 17 million. You're saying none of them are legitimately on this, even though we had one of them actually testify before us
I
at
didn't
this
say
committee.
all of them are illegals. I said there's also the benefit of people returning to the workforce because they are able-bodied individuals, or they should not have been on the system regardless because of
Why?
the inability to address fraud in the aftermath of the
Okay, so they're
What?
all either illegals or defrauding the system.
Well, that's certainly not a provocative statement that we have fraud all over the country, is it? Mr.
Yeah, it is actually, because you got to quantify it.
There are fraud and all sorts of.
You know what? This is the thing. It is a stupid statement because if you're going to talk about fraud, be specific. Otherwise, you're just trying to create fear and distrust. So stop it, Russ Vogt. We see what you're doing. It's such a MAGA thing to do. Well, we can all agree that, water is wet, right? Oh, so you agree with me that water is wet? Like, fuck you. No, that's a dumb statement because there isn't fraud everywhere. Otherwise, you would need to prove it to me. Yeah, and the fraud is from the providers. Why don't we bring in Rick Scott from Florida and he can tell us how Medicare fraud works?
Private and public sector areas. But the idea that 15 million Americans are about to lose their health care, the single biggest loss to
15
health care
million.
in American history, mind you. Not even during the Great Depression do 15 million Americans lose their health care coverage. The idea that all of those people who are about to lose their health care are defrauding the system or are illegal immigrants, that is not supported by any facts
Or not
whatsoever.
working
No
now-
data.
Or now working and getting the benefit of a job with
There's
important
no
health
data.
coverage.
There is
That
no
needs to be,
data.
Assessments by
See, he
CBO
just
and
keeps
others are
going back to
often
the
very sad.
water's wet,
So, I mean,
right?
it's right of center groups as well. Well, reclaim my time.
How about the fucking Cato Institute?
But it's not just CBO.
Yeah, talk about
Right
Cato.
of center groups, left of center groups, nonpartisan groups. You're saying they're
I'm
all
saying- I
wrong.
am saying that the budget community typically relies on static.
The budget community?
static scoring, current law baselines, and so you don't get
Law
an
baselines.
of the extent to which the reforms that are being made are going to have a dynamic impact with better programs.
But they're not.
All right.
Since $50 billion.
Well, let me.
But they're
before we get to
not.
friends, I only have a
Rural
couple
healthcare
minutes, so let me
programs
actually
voted in.
transition to my next subject because I
A
think I only
break.
have time now for this. The president
Wow.
recently said, I mean, he was talking about the record increase in gas prices thanks to him and his war of choice in Iran, but he diverted in a spontaneous, he's speaking extemporaneously in the White House just a few days ago. He said, and I quote, "The United States can't take care of daycare.
Yeah.
That has to be up to a state."
Fuck you,
Then
babies.
added
Hi,
Medicaid,
Bob. How you doing?
Medicare, all these
Good to see
individual
ya.
things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on federal. So I'm just curious, from your perspective at OMB.
Oh, he's
have you
definitely,
taken
the
any
babies are
action
on their
to
own
turn
for Russ.
Medicare
Come
back
on
to the
now.
states?
No, and the president doesn't want to do that with regard to these
Well,
important
he said it.
federal programs.
I mean,
He said it.
So you're disagreeing with what the president said?
No, I'm saying that the president meant is he's talking about fraud in these programs. He's
That's
talking
not. he
about-
didn't
No, it's not what he
excuse me,
said.
Reclaim my time. It's
not what he said.
Statement in front of me. Nowhere in front of me is the word fraud presented. What he was talking about, he later at a different part said, we have to pay more for wars, and instead
Yeah.
we can't afford Medicaid, Medicare,
Yeah.
Medicare, things like that. And looking at the budget proposal,
It's exactly what it is.
442 billion. Correct me if I'm wrong. 442 billion increase in defense. That's what you're asking for, about a 42% increase. Is that right?
Correct. For many paradigm-shifting investments that
Paradigm shifting.
42%
Oh, really?
increase
Shift
on
your
what
own
is
paradigm.
already
Right
a
the fuck
record
out
high
of
in
here.
defense. And look, I serve as part of our U.S. delegation to the NATO Parliament. I am no pacifist. I believe in a strong national defense. I believe the United States. I believe the world is at its best when the United States is the strongest military. The idea that we're going to pay for a 42% increase
Yeah.
in this military, in
Yeah.
this Department of Defense,
Would
at
that
the same
drunk
time
guy,
cut Medicaid, Medicare,
kidding me?
not pay for childcare, all of these things that the American people need, in the case
Yeah.
of Medicare, have paid into,
Yeah.
that is a reflection of priorities that are out of whack.
Way.
And I see I've
That's
gone
the
over time.
nicest
I appreciate your
piece to
indulgence.
say.
So with that, I yield back.
Okay, let's see who's going to go
Thank you,
next.
Mr. Ranking Member. Without objection, I'd like to submit for the record this letter from CBO that confirms, in fact, that the One Big Beautiful Bill and the coverage impacts that have been discussed here, that those millions of people that were mentioned were either ineligible for the program, illegal immigrants, or they were able-bodied adults who refused to work. And then-
What? How do they know that?
This, which is CBO's final analysis that confirmed the same thing.
Wait, I'm confused. Is
without-
that a technical term?
I'm not going to object to the submission of the letter. I do object, though, to your characterization of the letter.
Yeah, I know,
Everyone
honey.
should read the
You're right.
letter.
Absolutely.
Honey Max.
Um,
Honey Max.
But nowhere has it been found by anybody that the 15 million Americans about to lose their health care are all illegal immigrants or defrauding the system.
We'll bring it up when we have the next CBO oversight hearing, and we'll go through that letter in great detail.
No, you should do it sooner, you fucking idiot.
With that, I'm going to.
Okay, who we going to?
The Vice Chairman of the committee, Lloyd Smucker, for 5 minutes.
Smucker!
Then Lloyd Doggett, Tom McClintock.
Oh my God, there's all Lloyds.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Director, for being here with us.
Let's see what you're going to talk about.
The ranking member mentioned is from Pennsylvania. I'm from Pennsylvania as well.
Okay, great.
And I've talked to my their tanks with gas.
Yeah.
It just simply has
Tell
become
him.
unaffordable for them.
Yeah. Why'd it happen?
What I'm really proud of under the policies that we've advanced with your help is that we are now in a period of time when wage growth is outpacing the increase in cost of goods. And
Ooh,
so
boy, ooh.
maybe you could clarify that.
Ooh. Okay. Here's the thing. That's really parsing some decimal points there. And that's all I'm going to say. We can go over numbers, but that is pushing up some big bullshit.
For me, but so over time, people are feeling like they're in a better position due to the policies of this administration.
He really had to squeeze that one out.
It's April 15th. People are seeing the impact of the tax bill that
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And so it's maybe appropriate that you're here on this day because I think we can be very proud of the assistance and the help that we've given to working families all across America. I want to remind members here that 20 million Americans took advantage of the no tax on overtime.
All right. So he's going to just
Very
do
important
things like
policy
that.
to folks.
Want to explain that work?
23%. Thank you. Under your direction, Mr. Vogt, at the National Institute.
Lloyd Doggett.
Last year, grants for Alzheimer's and aging research were cut almost 50%. Mental health, 47%. New grants for cancer research, 23%. And as I read the budget that you're here presenting today, the Trump regime's response is that medical research has not yet been cut sufficiently. Doesn't your budget propose another 12% cut at the National Institutes of Health?
Most of what you said is untrue. NIH was not
Really?
cut at all last year. We proposed a series of reforms
What?
to lower the cost. We continue, although not as much, to lower the cost
Reclaiming
this
my
year.
time, my question to you is, don't you propose to cut the National Institutes of Health by another 12%?
We propose to have a cut to the National Institute of Health.
Thank you, sir.
that
Reclaiming my
that
time.
goes after specific
far as the-
programs.
Yes, sir.
and-
Thank you.
and
Reclaiming my
institutes like the
time, and
Minority
let's talk
Health
about your-
Disparity
Stop
Institute.
Reclaiming
speaking.
my
Liberty
time,
Center.
Mr. Chairman. If the gentleman will please yield, he can filibuster when he's in the Senate.
Gentleman
What we
reclaims his
do
time.
know, as far as the truth, is that there were
I
fewer
love
grants
Lloyd Doggett.
for new cases last year at NIH than at any time in the last 30 years. Is it your feeling in proposing further cuts at NIH that there are just not enough worthwhile projects out there, or that we cannot afford to invest more in doing something about Alzheimer's, cancer, Parkinson's, HIV?
This is so
and other
crazy.
great concerns.
There are many worthy health investments out there. I think post-COVID, for an institution that contributed to the pandemic itself with the funding of gain-of-function research, to give that institute $42 trillion
Oh, okay.
got under the COVID pandemic, the kinds of is very generous. The kinds of things that we're trying to do with the National Institute of Health, indirect cost rates. We don't think when Bill Gates gives 10%
Yes, sir.
for parkings and administrative
Reclaiming
costs
my time, Mr.
and
Chairman.
buildings, that
after
should go.
reclaiming my
reclaims his
time,
time.
after giving last year fewer grants than
Wait.
any time in the last 30 years.
Oh my God. Oh
you
my
propose
God.
Further cuts there, and of course, the cuts are not only to medical research.
What was the
Is it
rescission on
correct that your
NIH, I
budget
wonder?
would cut the National Science Foundation, which has in the past provided grants that helped on artificial intelligence, on laser eye surgery, on MRI technology, among
Jesus
others.
Christ.
That you propose to cut it by 55%.
We have a sizable cut to National
Yes, sir.
Science Foundation.
Over half of the funding.
But
of
it will
that.
Oh
not
my
include
God.
Investments on artificial.
Well, that's.
Oh
good
my
to know.
God.
Quantum physics.
You may be the only person, along with President Trump, who believe that.
Oh my God.
From
Oh,
the
Trump
director
believes
of
it because of
Research
him, Lloyd.
Universities. He says your budget cuts are the equivalent of working in a company that feels like it's on the verge of bankruptcy.
Yep.
Another one says slow scientific progress threatening the nation's position in the world economy.
Yep.
That's one of my concerns, because when you eliminate these research budgets, you impact long-term economic growth. Are you aware that one international organization has recently said already the United States has fallen behind China when it comes to research?
We have no doubt in our mind that we are going to still be the leading
Oops. But you're not.
innovator, funder of
But we're
research,
not.
both private.
But
and
we're not.
Our view is that we
But
want
we're
to make
not.
sure that there's a dollar that's actually well
Yes, sir.
spent on research
Thank you
and not
very much.
blown.
I'll accept that as you're disagreeing with the international organization that says we've already fallen behind China.
Yeah.
Do you agree that the impact of federal research dollars helps to stimulate private investment? In fact, one estimate is every federal dollar generating 8 times as much in private investment on research.
Mr. Congressman, I don't think the Fogarty International Center, which is at the NIH, should spend $224,000 for a survey on how Buddhism creates HIV stigma in Thailand. That's what your hard-earned tax dollars
Yeah.
are going to fund.
And you want to know what that probably is? What my guess about that program is to ensure that people in Thailand who may not access life-saving medications in a country where I don't know what the HIV rate is, but I imagine it might be high, okay, given the sex tourism industry, given all the kinds of, abuses that might happen, etc. I'm going to tell you right now, I would imagine that is to ensure that people who don't want to be outed in their community or disgraced or, expelled because of their sexual orientation or their even just access of HIV medication, which itself carries a stigma as if you have full-blown HIV AIDS, right? That is what those grants do. They help communities build safety nets and responses so that people in their community can access life-saving drugs and they can actually systemically change what's happening in country about attitudes. And that shit works. And let me tell you, I'm going to guarantee you, I would eat my hat if this is not true. That program in Thailand probably has a more complex program structure and evaluation model of the effectiveness of it, because you cannot get a government grant without having a very rigorous monitoring and evaluation effort, which means you're monitoring your progress against key performance indicators, right? Like serious stuff here. Like much more serious than at, mom and pop shops or even some small corporations. This is high level fucking OD stuff that's happening, organizational development and execution. And they create very detailed monitoring and evaluation plans. And then on probably a quarterly basis, those plans are evaluated and they get reimbursed from the money. So it's not even just sent as one grant up front. You have to dance for your dollars that you've already won, but you still have to dance and prove that you're doing something wrong. And let me tell you, I've seen programs not get their funding because of malfeasance or whatever. That happens. People are actually monitoring and evaluating what is happening on the ground. So no, Mr. Vogt, I don't agree with you. I do want my tax dollars going for those types of programs because that makes the world healthier and that makes people in Thailand maybe stronger in terms of, the United States has been doing something good for us. So that helps world peace. When people think you're all cooperating with each other, there's less tendency to blow each other up. So yeah, it's all it all is out there. And the fact that we have to have this argument at this level of government is absolutely mind-blowing to me. Because this is settled science, folks. And the fact that not one person has really talked about the rigor that is involved in every USAID grant. Every penny. Every fucking penny. I'm trying to tell you, I used to not go for, when I worked at smaller organizations, I wouldn't even go for government grants because I didn't want to spend all my time doing the paperwork. I did the calculus and the return on investment because I was small, so I couldn't really compete with some larger groups in the area. It wasn't going to be worth my time to even attempt to go for those grants. I had to stick to private foundations and corporate foundations and things like that, which is fine. And they have, even the private foundations, they have very rigorous reporting too. We always had to have an evaluation. We always had to have like tools. We had a great study that was done with people at Stanford. So I'm going to tell you, like, that actually happens even in the smallest of NGOs. I can attest to that because I did it for years. I spent 22 years in nonprofit. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. So this is why I'm so angry about this argument, because I haven't heard anyone with a larger voice articulate the fact that the fact that you could say that USAID is all a bunch of bloat is absolutely the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. In fact, it probably is better managed money than some other government agencies. Right? Because you can't have bloat. I mean, I just, this really kind of, it sticks in my craw, obviously, but. Yeah.
The guise of research investment. I don't think.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That's fine, Mr. Vogt. Thank you. It's fine that you go through and eliminate any project like that, but that.
I just spilled coffee on me.
Providing the fewest number of grants for these key dread diseases in 30 years. I want to ask you about the.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Was referred to by President Trump about the fact that we can't afford daycare at the federal level. And of course, your budget provides no increase in funding for child care, does it?
We flat fund childcare, which you would not.
Flat fund.
So
I
eliminate the
can't.
program, do you not, that provides
42% increase on defense, 0% on child care. Oh, yeah. No, Russ Voght's a bad hombre, meowing. He hates everybody.
assistance?
He hates
Some people-
everybody.
The LIHEAP program, you terminate that
The
entirely.
LIHEAP?
It is a historically fraudulent program.
He's talking about low-income heating. I can't remember what the EAP is, but basically it's the low-income heating program that helps people with low incomes make sure they don't freeze to death or die from heat stroke in their homes. That's what LIHEAP does. That's what it does. And he's cutting it without replacing it. He's not building something better. He's throwing the baby out with the bathwater because he doesn't want people to be, they don't want poor people to get anything. Do you understand that? If you're poor, he wants you to die. He's actually more than a useless tool, though, Moonstar, and welcome to the show. Russ Vought is an architect. He is the one who, for the last 6 years, has written the plans to execute on day one. All the EOs, him and Stephen Miller, right? Like, Russ Vought is actually part of the brain trust, if there is one, of this regime. And the fact that he's a murderer, yeah, and he enjoys it. He actually thinks it's really awesome. So, yeah, it's 42% and cutting an entire program for low-income heating and cooling, for people across the country. Because he thinks that there's fraud, but he hasn't proven anything. Do you notice that? With all the cuts from Doggy, nobody ever provided you with an audit of that, with simply a narrative. I would just give me a budget narrative that shows me in a department what you cut, why you cut it. It doesn't have to be long, right? I've done a million of these. I do a budget narrative every time I would create an annual budget to present to my board of directors. I would put up a budget narrative to say, this is why this number is this. This is why this number is that. This is why this number is this. This is what I hope to accomplish. Like, that's normal shit that happens even in a little tiny independent, charter school. That shit happens because that's good management. They don't give a flying fuck about fraud because it's basically, this is just a way to gut the federal government of social programs. A 42% military increase? Come on. Come on. We are the only ones starting wars on this planet right now. Okay? We are the only ones. Well, the Saudis are actually doing some shit in the Sudan, but
Will you
yikes.
terminate it entirely or not?
We do not have funding for LIHIP because
Yes,
we
sir.
believe in the
Well,
moment where we are
fortunately,
fighting
Here you go.
fraud.
Of all the many things the
Let them
president
eat
says he
cake.
wants to cut, you have not gotten to Medicare in this budget yet. I guess
don't
that
think-
will
Are
be
there
the
no
next-
prisons? Are there no workhouses?
Coming up next is Medicare, because as the president said,
Let them die
this is
and
state
decrease the
funded. So many of
surface
us believe it's a
population.
Vital program to protect the health of our people. We don't want to see what happened to it, what happened to Medicaid already.
God.
To the Affordable Care Act happens to Medicare, and that's very much what's at stake here. I yield back.
Can I address
Thank
that?
you, Lloyd Doggett.
Very
30
quickly.
seconds.
We do not believe that LIHEAP should go to incarcerated individuals and dead people. It is a notoriously
Then you
fraudulent program by the same experts that the ranking member continues to cite on a number of other issues.
Well, I'm sure the dead people argument applies just about as much as it did to President Trump's claim that people that were
gentleman's time
350
has
years
expired.
old were getting Social Security. It's
Gentleman's-
all phony.
My friend from Texas.
And the question of whether it worked, if you looked at the end of the year,
Let me see what.
credit card delinquency.
Wait. All right.
For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you outlined the Biden administration. I want to reiterate some of the things that the ranking member said, including out of 48 months in the Biden administration, 47.
No, Congress
Those had
should
job
not
growth.
pass this budget
The only
proposal.
month
No,
that there was a job
absolutely
loss
not.
was the month that Trump had come in and actually was president for a significant part of that month. On average monthly gain in jobs, about 300,000 over the Biden administration. And that compares to 5 months of job loss already run up by this administration, 5 months of job loss, and an aggregate total that doesn't even amount to 1 month's average month of job growth in the Biden administration. I heard the chairman mention bailing out pension funds. I think he's referring to the fact that in the American Rescue Plan, we saved 1 million people's pensions. They were losing their pensions, wasn't their fault, but they were about to lose their pensions, and we saved those pension plans and pensions in the American Rescue Plan Act, and I think that was a good thing. If you ask those who are about to retire whether they thought it was a good thing, I think most would agree. On inflation, the ranking member pointed out that we had global inflation under Biden. The American Rescue Plan Act and the other spending, I think most experts said, added a little bit of marginal inflation, but the spending also included in the American Rescue Plan Act for families of 4, about $5,000 in stimulus checks, $6,000 in child tax credits. Many received enhanced SNAP benefits and lower Obamacare premiums. And the question of whether it worked, if you looked at the end of the year, credit card delinquencies were the lowest in 30 years. Child poverty dropped 40%. So I think it worked. And inflation under Trump, as the ranking members pointed out, specific policies like tariffs, inflation, and the war have added to inflation.
By design.
As far as 15 million losing their health care is a good thing because they might be getting jobs. All of the information that we've received
Bullshit.
from states that have imposed work requirements on Medicaid and SNAP have found virtually no increase in jobs. So if you have, Mr. Vogt,
It's called data.
any evidence
It's
that
important.
people will get jobs as a result of that, other than just people losing their health care.
He can't price his right, this bitch. Okay?
And the
He's got to
CBO
be
estimates
exact.
That big, you said the bill had a lot of different names. Big ugly bill is
That's
one
what
of the
I call
names
it.
we like to call it. With interest,
Bub.
that's going to add about $4 trillion to the debt.
Yep.
What
Over
is
10
your
years.
estimate of the damage done to the fiscal
Or
situation
5 years.
by that bill?
It will reduce the deficit by $1.5 trillion.
But we're already building up the deficit. What is the deficit? Let's get it. Let's get it.
So everybody thinks it's going to add about $4 trillion to the debt, and you think it's going to save money. Eisenhower was the last Republican president to leave to Democrats a lower deficit measured by a percentage of GDP, which is a normal measurement, a lower deficit than they inherited. Does this administration plan to leave a lower deficit than the one they inherited? And if so, are tax increases part of that plan?
The fiscal situation was very steep when we inherited, and what we inherited from the Biden administration. We're doing everything we possibly can. I think the things that we did this year collectively with the Congress, as I've said, is the end of fiscal futility. For 20, 30 years, and you all know that I'm a budget person. I worked on the budget committee as a
Yeah,
staffer
we know.
For members. I know this place well. There was no success. A lot of people talked about the
Well,
issue.
the-
Did
it
many
was a simple
different
question.
graphs,
Do you plan
no
to leave a
success.
better, do you plan to leave a better deficit than you inherited?
This is intentionally a discretionary budget proposal.
Okay,
We don't give
well-
you what our deficits long-term are.
Okay.
Let me
We
ask
are
you another.
intentionally
Okay.
making
Let
progress
me ask you
every
another
year.
question. What does the budget assume for the future of the Department of Education, especially the Office of Civil Rights, if Congress fails to vote to abolish the department?
Well, as you know, in this budget, we both reflect the fact that we're trying to close the Department of Education, but that substantial resources will continue to flow to communities.
Okay, I have to interrupt him for a minute. Hold on. Let me show you what the. Oh boy, this just gets my goat. It gets my goat, y'all. It gets my goat, y'all. Ooh. Let me show you the national debt. You're gonna love it. This is the national debt over 1 year. I think it's 1 year. All right, let's get it. Make it biggie, big, big, biggie, big, 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 big. This is from tradingeconomics.com. It's actually a great website just to have an accumulation of really worldwide data points. And so I do recommend it. It's a good quick view. Obviously, you should do more like research into certain numbers and stuff like that. But it gives me kind of an idea when I look at it and just like, wow, okay. So this is April of 2025, okay? And this is the U.S. government debt. Government debt in the United States increased to 39 trillion. Wait, billion? 39 billion or trillion? I think it's trillion, right? I can't remember. Anyway, in March from 3.87 in February. Okay, so government debt in the United States averaged 6 something from 1942 until 2026, reaching an all-time high of 39, whatever, and as of March of 2026, the highest we've ever had. Highest debt we've ever had. And look at the increases. This is when, okay, so this is when the new budget takes effect, right? So then the increase in spending is shown there. Now, I just want to take you out. Let's go 3 years. Okay, so 3 years. This is July when it started to really go up. July of 2023, right? Lots of post-COVID shit. Lots of stuff like that. And let's go 5 years. Oh, yeah. So we've really, wow. This is really big. Max. I'm going to go max. I don't know what, I can't afford that. I don't have that. This is 10 years from 2016 until 2026. So this 1 year chart gives you a real good idea that this is why VOUGHT isn't actually saying anything definitive about increasing the debt, because every year this debt is going to increase probably by large amounts based on this. So, yeah, it's not good, folks, because here's the other thing. Those tariffs are going to be refunded. All right. And that's a little bit of chunk of change. The tariffs, as you remember, were very important to this regime because in order to give the corporate tax cuts that the big ugly bill gave them, which they indeed did give corporations incredible tax cuts, right? In order to do that and make them permanent, because remember, kids, your tax on tips only goes to 2028. So there you go. Hopefully people extend that. I think that would be great. But those are the little morsels that they throw out when in fact we're carrying more of the revenue burden, and that's where the tariffs come in. Because in order to do those big ugly cuts, they had to have other revenue streams coming in. This is all in their Mar-a-Lago Accord It's actually not a secret. And so the tariffs then become a tax, a usage tax on us, the consumer, because prices have gone up even on non-tariffed goods. And plenty of economists you can find will say that some of this is going to be baked in and never be rescinded. Because that's how price increases work. So these are all self-designed, self-inflicted wounds. It's not an inept regime. It's a regime who are executing on their plan to their word perfectly. Because they have accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. There are people, I think I was reading about Solano County, that on April 1st, I think it was 30,000 or something people were going to lose their food stamps. What the fuck? Because of the big ugly bill. I mean, I just, there's no way that you can spin this regime as pro-person, as patriotic, as caring about Americans, that's for sure. Because what they plan to do, folks, is just leave a tremendous debt and make sure that they've codified no regulations on businesses. That's been a big win for the corporations, right? See Grok in Memphis doing their wind turbines that are actually causing health problems around their plant in Memphis. It is by design because they planned it that way. My God, this was laid out in Project 2025. The EOs were drafted during the Biden administration by this douche whistle, right? In order to get us here. That's how they got shit going so fast. And let me tell you, as somebody who watches Congress, they have codified every motherfucking thing week by week by week with these bills to roll back environmental protections, to roll back regulations, to stop protections. They totally disemboweled the Consumer Protection Financial Bureau, which actually saved people. Like, it literally was doing some really good stuff. And they just shit on it. So, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just going by the facts. I'm just looking at the numbers. I'm just watching the numbers, and they do not look good. And of course you can find economists that are MAGA. That's not hard to do, because they can say things like this guy does, where he skirts around the issue and just tries to find a way to spin it to his advantage. That's not responsible governance. I don't need a spin doctor. I need someone who is telling me honestly what the numbers mean and why they are making the cuts that they're making and why they're making the increases that they're making. Pretty simple stuff. Sorry. Anyway, so I just wanted to prove to you that this guy absolutely does not give a flying fuckwad about our national debt. They are spending money like crazy. Oh, and I'm going to be watching World Liberty Financial because that shit's about to implode. Because one of their major investors is really, really pissed off. And that's about to blow up in Trump's ass. And frankly, I can't wait. Which is why the desperation of this regime to get everything in before the midterms. Because if they don't, they're fucked. F-U-C-K-E-D. That's why this budget is so outrageous. Because they wanted to start very outrageously so they could get to a minimum level of outrage. I hope so. God, I hope so. Please, I hope so.
For education, there's only a 2% reduction in this budget.
From 26, where they cut most of it.
And what's interesting about the bill that thankfully you all voted for is that you voted to endorse many of the restructurings that we
No.
voted to.
Are you kidding me?
You voted not to have Corporation for Public Broadcasting when you voted for that omnibus bill, those bills that worked its way through. And so
Shut up.
Our belief is that we make as progress on the ground with these agencies, Department of Education included, with
I'm trying to bring out the strong stuff.
Work where we think that can be
I don't know what this is.
That we're going to make the case to Congress in a way that
Quad infused.
enacts those reforms long term.
The gentleman's
I can't read that.
time has expired. You mentioned me, Mr. Scott. The jobs essentially and virtually were 100%
Oh
government.
my God. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. You're a liar.
Bunch of money.
You are
Second
lying.
piece was the Butch-Lewis Act, essentially. Look, we had to
You cannot sit there and say, oh, well, those were mostly government jobs. That's not true. Talk about the layoffs in the Mag 7. Oh, wait. Al Jazeera. Israeli Army Chief Eyal Zamir says the army has approved plans for continuation both in Lebanon and Iran. Israel positioning itself to break the peace talks. Yep, sure does look like it. Yeah, it is time. Hi, Mr. Spock. You came in at the perfect moment. Because it's a bunch of bullshit today.
do something, you're right, for these retirees. But we needed to do it and fix the structural problem so that we didn't end up where we were in the first place. And so my criticism is it was a bailout because there weren't policy reforms to prevent us from being back in that
this
I
situation.
work with you. I work with you on making some policy changes to make sure it doesn't happen.
You got
again.
it. You got it. Thank you. Yielding 5 minutes now to my colleague from the Hoosier State, Mr. Stutzman.
Okay,
Thank
well,
you, Mr. Chairman.
what do
And
you
Director,
got?
Thank you for being here today.
Are you gonna tell
I wanna
him how
touch on a
great
couple
he
things.
looks in
I'll
his
give you plenty of
tie?
Time to give us some answers, specifically to something that you said that the era of big spending is over. Hopefully that's for good, but I appreciate what this administration has
can't.
done, and then also tariff
Do you?
policies. But since it is tax
Okay, wait.
day
I
today,
want to hear what
do
he's
wanna
going to
point out
ask.
that the big beautiful bill has made a huge impact for Hoosiers. This year, the average
Oh my
Hoosier,
God, we're going to suck dick. We're sucking dick today. Okay, great. Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Constitutional, the president ran against it.
Okay, but
Wait, hold on.
the
income taxes, especially since today's April 15th.
Happy Tax Day, everybody.
A lot of discussion around tariffs on our side on how they affect the American people, but I think that it balances.
Oh, Jay Rance, hi,
level the
baby.
playing
How are
field,
you doing?
especially
Oh,
with
God, you're going to
times
die.
of
It's Russ
competition
Vote.
that come from a manufacturing district, and how they can, pay low labor costs. Their utilities are subsidized. They can produce much cheaper because
boy.
that's the way they play.
Yeah,
compared to us. I
okay.
think tariffs is
You know what? Their utilities are subsidized, unlike us who just cut the entire LIHEAP program. That's right. We're not subsidizing utilities for poor people. Fuck poor people. That's what this entire budget is. Fuck poor people. Die already. Why don't you reduce the surface population? That's what this administration is about. Wake up, chuds.
a way to level the playing field.
God, shut
with,
the fuck up.
country, especially like China. So
Fucking
thank you
sycophant.
again, for your leadership on these issues.
Gentleman's time is
People who
up.
have these reps
5
should be
minutes.
embarrassed.
My colleague, Mr. Scott Peters.
We do need to eat them. You're right.
Thank you. Director, thank you for being here today.
Get the dinosaurs. Let's
The
go.
Atomic Control Act of 1974 says that the executive cannot unilaterally withhold congressionally appropriated funds without a rescission or deferral request
Yeah.
submitted to Congress.
Right.
Director, has OMB withheld or delayed the obligation of funds appropriated by this Congress without submitting rescission or deferral notices?
We have fully complied with the Impoundment Control Act. As you probably know, we are
Right,
not
just-
fans. of
That's
the
not what he
Impoundment Control Act.
asked.
We think it's unconstitutional. The president ran.
Oh!
However, we have.
Oh! We don't do laws we think are unconstitutional.
Congressionally appropriated funds without a rescission or deferral request submitted to Congress?
Yes or no?
Yes, right?
Not in violation of the Impoundment Control Act. We
Yes.
Did you ever
We've
submit
done
rescission or-
programmatic-
Did you ever
Did
resubmit?
various-
Yeah,
did
ask
you
him a
ever
different
submit
question.
Rescission or deferral request to Congress? Have you
We
submitted any?
submitted a rescissions package last year.
Not for everything though.
We continue to do programmatic reviews
To Congress?
of programs. That is not a withholding under the Impoundment
Did
Control
you
Act.
submit it to Congress?
We don't need to submit. If
Okay,
we're
you did not.
Congressman,
Oh.
if we're just assessing a program.
Oh.
waste, fraud, and abuse,
I understand you.
So if they're just holding back the money that was appropriated in 2025 for a department, they've held that money. This is money that they need to pay salaries, to pay rent, to do whatever. They've withheld it, lying that they're assessing the program. Prove it. Prove it. Because that's also costing money, by the way, when you're doing all these like forensic audits or something. I'm not, but again, nobody has told us how they actually arrived at all these. And that's because they don't have an answer to how they arrived on to them, because they just picked the programs they wanted to get rid of. And guess what? They're all the social safety net programs and international aid and education and things that matter day to day. This government does not care about you. Rise up.
I don't think you have to, but I'm just trying to establish you did not, right? You did not,
Well,
right?
we submitted rescissions bills.
It's only till 2028, Teresa.
Two of them.
Yeah,
not-
but they didn't
it's not
include
deferral
everything.
notices that you were
They're
withholding.
not deferrals under the Impoundment Control Act.
Wow, bitch.
The Government Accountability
Fuck that
Office has already
bitch.
found that the administration
Sorry,
illegally
folks. You don't get paid on a
withheld
technicality.
$8 billion in NIH grants.
No,
$7 million
actually,
for funding to
you don't get paid because we think that the law that says we have to pay you after Congress approves your appropriation, that's right, folks. Congress voted to approve those dollars and appropriate them to the agencies that they were given to. And this guy unilaterally decided no. That's what it is. Oh, I'm so glad, Moonstar. Thank you so much. Well, welcome to the loungers. You're now at a lounger. We lounge hopefully every morning. I start a little off these days, but we're going to get back to Happy Hump Day TV2. Oh my God. Hello. How are you? Here's another beautiful streamer, Moonstar, right below you, TV2 Live. That's his handle on YouTube as well. So make sure you sub to him. He's a great provider of strong, resistance content. So we love him very much. Thanks for being here, everybody. Yeah, so this is they decided that the law that says that when Congress says spend this money, they decided that law doesn't apply to them. They like this other thing, the Impoundment Control Act, that they can kind of massage and justify what they've done. But it's not justified. It's just not justified. Oh, thanks. Anyways, here we go.
support K-12 public schools nationwide and hundreds of millions of dollars for Head Start programs across the country. Do you dispute GAO's findings?
Yes. GAO is typically wrong. They're very partisan. They are typically on the exact opposite of wherever the Trump administration is. Unfortunately, I know you all look to them. They are a branch of the legislative body. We have a very different view with regard to the merit of their opinions, and so it's not surprising me that they have a different view on that.
Do you have a legal opinion on that?
We defend to the hilt all of our legal decisions.
Yeah, and lose.
Most of the time.
Most of the time you lose.
We
Have
don't
you
have
gotten
to
a
do this.
formal legal opinion on that?
Actually, most of the time we
No,
put out.
do you have a
the-
formal legal opinion on this?
of any of the videos. Not always, but we try to be very forward-leaning and articulate because we feel like we have the moral and legal high ground.
The
every
more-
time we make a decision.
I'm sure you feel like you have the moral and legal high ground.
Moral high ground? Moral high ground? What the fuck? You're the budget guy. Where does morality come into a budget? Well, I know where it does because that's what you cut. Anything that you think is immoral, I guess. I don't really get it.
I get that impression. I would just ask Mr. Chairman, for the record, that we add, without objection, if we add the decision from GAO of August 5 and July 23 on Head Start and NIH impoundment.
Without objection, so ordered.
Head Start impoundment. Head Start is what they're...
We follow and we don't. We have laws that are there for a reason, and I guess we should expect that you would abide by those procedures.
Yeah.
But, whether it's tariffs or the war or the way you've manipulated the budget, the administration just does not want to deal with Congress.
Right.
And I have to say to my colleagues in general that we've reached a point where if something's not going well in this administration, the response is not, let's do something different. The response is, well, Biden did it worse.
Yeah.
It is absolutely irrelevant. Joe Biden is gone.
Yeah.
You guys won that election. We don't dispute the results of elections. You won the election. Joe Biden's gone. Our job is today, what do we do in 2026 to make things better? And this budget will not meet that 3% target that we set without aggressive growth assumptions. which I don't think we're going
Which
to see.
should not be made.
Whether, why are we talking about Joe Biden? Joe Biden's been gone for 2 years. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The other thing I'd suggest is, one of my colleagues, Mr. Smucker, said Democrats don't care about fraud. And
It's the dumbest statement ever.
Out a little bit, because if Mr. Smucker and I sat down together, I think we could have a discussion about fraud. I think we do care about fraud. We want to know what's real fraud and what's not real fraud. But I ask you not to question my motives. Don't say that. I will pledge to you that I will bash your policies. I think you guys are wrong. I think you're wrong, but I don't question your motives. I think everyone in this room is a patriot that wants to do the right thing for the country. And when we make each other our enemies, the Democrats versus the Republicans, this is the weakest that we can create, the weakest situation we can create for this country. When we are really not thinking, I'm sort of least worried about Mr. Smucker because he's a friend. I know him, but I hear this all the time. Let's not question each other's motives.
Right.
I think you guys are really wrong on the policy. I don't think that what you're doing is good for kids.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I don't think you care about kids. I just think you're wrong on the policy. And so,
So well
maybe we can
said.
Get away from questioning.
God, what an adult.
We can start to get back to a level of collegiality that maybe we can focus on policies. But it is 2026, folks. It is not 2023. It is not 2024. Joe Biden doesn't matter. Okay? It's what matters today is what's going on today. What is this budget committee's job? We are not getting to the 3% target we all agreed to a few weeks ago from the gate.
Wow.
And I just want to say that we have a lot of work to do, but
Well, the gentleman is making, some fair and fine remarks, and I have the utmost
Sorry, I
respect
went
for him.
over.
We're over time. I do think that Mr. Smucker's comments were intended to be
Oh, real
on
collegial?
record, contrasting on record, not on motive.
Oh, really? Oh, fuck you.
The record.
Fuck you.
I appreciate your comment.
Fuck you, Jody.
saying we don't care about something is a personal.
Is a motive, you idiot.
Uh,
Nice
let's go
try.
to Chuck Edwards now for 5 minutes.
Yeah, maybe not.
From North Carolina.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Vogt, thanks for being here. Before I get to my questions, I've got to make a number of the committee members here aware, and I want to express my appreciation to you. A number of us had a meeting.
What the hell?
And I expressed my
That's like
concern
mini Seb Gorka.
about the velocity of which funding was coming out of FEMA going to Western North Carolina.
Uh-oh.
In that meeting, you invited me to the White House that very afternoon, and I'm really proud and appreciative, and I want the committee members that were there to know that within a number of hours, $173 million was.
Oh, so all you have to do is suck the dick of Russ Vote at an event, and then your state will get the FEMA money that it's been due. Do I have that right? Is that what you're telling us, little Seb Gorka? Mini Gorka? What happened to Seb Gorka? Why is he trying to look like Seb Gorka? That's what I want to know. I know his beard dye has gray roots. Yeah, it's bad. There's nothing. And the gray suit. Hello, you know how I feel about gray suits. There is no place for gray suits. I'm sorry. Let them go. They're a thing of the past. Nobody looks good in them. Nobody looks good in a gray suit. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. You can go charcoal. You can go graphite. But no plaid gray. Not concrete gray. It doesn't work. Sorry. That's my fashion tip for the day. Thank you. Follow me on Instagram. No, just kidding. I'm not on Instagram. I don't have any Meta products. I got rid of all my Meta products. And soon we're going to try and get rid of other ones. Let's see. I bet a good chunk of MAGA love DoorDash grandma because they are quite literally brain dead. I've overheard them argue empty shelves at the groceries was proof we were winning the trade war. I'm going to tell you right now, the pretzels that people want to spin themselves into in order to justify, just admit it. You don't even have to admit that your vote was stupid. You just have to not support this regime. That's really all I'm asking at this point, is don't support the regime and their stupid ass, their stupid ass things. their stupid ass policies that are, we'll talk about. The Mar-a-Lago Accord was written in November of 2024 by none other than Stephen Moran, who is now a federal governor and fucking things up at the Fed. And this is all by design. The tariffs are by design. I don't know. The war probably has some design in it because oil companies are enjoying the profits of larger prices, almost double the price for the oil that they're refining or whatever it is and selling. Gas prices have gone up and probably will be slow to come down, especially as we get into summer, because God knows how long this is going to go, because we have a completely inept regime who cannot negotiate their way out of a paper bag and got us into a war at the behest of Bibi and probably Putin. Got us into a war, probably with compromat that they all have on dump. And pig's breath went crazy, right? And so now here we are in what is truly going to be an endless war. Because frankly, the Iranians did what they really should have done, which is, you're not going to pass safely. If you guys are going to bomb us, nobody's going to pass safely because I don't know who's going to shoot us, right? So that's actually pretty reasonable self-defense. Now, I'm not into the Iranian regime. I don't think regimes are good anyway. And that one certainly is oppressive. But it is in support of the Iranian people that I say, then find a peaceful way to do this, because you're killing the very people that you're trying to help. And that's not good. So, every country, I guess, has basically, they are in the world. And so in order to deal with them, we should be dealing with them and building relationships through aid, through business, all those things that we, think are so great. Build that kind of relationship with Iran. Tourism would be huge. I would love to see Tehran. That would be a dream come true. But at the end of the day, the war is never going to be the answer. It's just not. Because you're only creating more radicalism with people who have been bombed. And that generational trauma is going to go on for, well, quite literally, generations. Why are you doing that? And why this war is happening is really what people should be asking themselves, is why are we doing this? Like, I was looking at the response of the oil companies, and oil companies are a little nervous because, of course, their infrastructure can get bombed over in the Middle East. So they're a little nervous, but they see the long-term gain because, as Trump has said himself, why didn't we take the oil? So just the fact that we think that imperialistically we can go in and bomb a country unilaterally and, then take resources or at least threaten to take resources, that actually is also a good long-term bet for the oil companies. So that's why, people like Jamie Dimon at Goldman Sachs, or JP Morgan rather, that's why they're happy. They're okay with the war. Nobody's saying anything. You don't see Peter Thiel coming out and saying, oh, this is terrible and we should really pull back. You don't hear him say shit because this is the plan. This is great. The chaos works. And when it doesn't, triggers can be pulled, like they can figure out how they get through that crisis. But things are going swimmingly, actually. And as long as they can keep the tariff money, life will be better. Now, they're probably going to lose that. And Sam Altman at OpenAI is in visible crisis. And OpenAI itself is having trouble with kind of getting over their skis. So from a private business standpoint, that's pretty tenuous too. Oh, and by the way, anybody in the American business, they're suffering because of the lack of imports, the lack of safe seaways. Watch the Red Sea and the Suez Canal for the next hot moment, and then we're fucked. So anyway, sorry, I'm really high, and I have a lot of feelings. And thank you for coming to the show. All right, Mini Gorka, what do we got?
Carolina, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you going to yield back?
I've
No.
got more questions than I'm gonna have time, so
Okay.
I'm just
Just
gonna
gonna
jump
say
right
how much I love you, and
cover from.
I just think you're great. Thanks for giving me that funding again. I'm sure glad we met at the target.
Is not authorized. So when we talk about the CBDG program, we're talking about that typical
Oh my God.
formula program that goes to paying sidewalks in Greenwich, Connecticut, which I think is an improper use of federal.
Okay. CDBG is one of the main areas that small community organizations and nonprofits are able to get funding for city level projects. Community Development Block Grant. It's a block grant that is given to the city to administer, and they are the ones who choose the organizations that get the funding for their programs. You're talking about, I think, a pretty small amount of money. I don't know what it is, but I know the grants are small because I've gotten one before in different organizations that it made sense to get them for. So that, the fact that they would cut community development block grants, that's literally what that is. A little tiny chunk of money. I would be shocked if I ever got more than 5 or 10,000 from a community development block grant. I would be shocked if I went back through my records and found that I got more than $10,000, and that would be unusual. It's more like 5. Okay? So we're not talking about huge enrichment. We're talking about money that really fucking fills in some gaps. That's what it is. So wow, this is really an evil regime. And I wish more people understood that these people are doing this intentionally. This is not, incompetence. It's competent for them. It's competent to the plans that they wanted to execute and how they wanted it to come out. And nobody is asking them for an audit. They're going ahead and doing things and under complete cover. And now they all have pardons.
Taxpayer funds. When we're in $39 trillion in debt, I think we need to look very closely
Yes.
at those types of
Let's do it.
funding programs and to make sure that somewhere in the federal government, people or communities are getting the funds that they need. But we do have issues.
Just going to remind you, this is the national debt from March of 2025 until March of 2026. This is the national debt. I'll give you 3 years under Biden. Went up because we were spending. Blah, 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 blah. These guys have gone ham. They've gone ham. Yeah. And bye. Oh, yeah, Orban. Doug Orban's Ontario. Oh, bad. See you later. Iran has already stated if the U.S. blockade doesn't stop, they're going to shut down the Red Sea and the Gulf Sea of Oman. Well, there you go then. And again, I'm just going to say this is self-inflicted by the United States, by this regime. These are deliberate actions, and they don't have a plan or this is the plan. One of two. Which one, I wonder? So, I don't know, but wow. Just wow.
Issues with that program, particularly the non-disaster part. And if there's an issue with regard
Oh my God.
to North Carolina not getting its DR, I'm happy to go back and
Why? Why should you be the one to go back and do that?
More conversation, I think, that we need to have, because we have a number of businesses that have been wiped out, a number of homes, schools, local governments that have not been.
All right, he's just doing his job for his North Carolina people.
Find a way to direct those funds and.
Oh, so you don't like the fact that he withheld
One
funds?
other question.
Wow, interesting.
Um,
Oh, wait, are you not
And this is
done?
regard to Capital Magnet Fund. Those dollars funded outside the appropriations process through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac fee revenue have been transferred to Treasury, but reportedly haven't been apportioned by OMB. CDFIs are one of the most effective tools that we have for increasing affordable housing, especially in rural and hard-to-serve communities like I represent. Can you tell us what is the status of the fiscal year 2026 apportionment for the Capital Magnet Fund, and when can CDFIs expect those resources to be released so they can move forward on affordable housing projects?
Thanks, Congressman. We have released the 25-26 CDFI funds, but I will tell you, this is a program that I think needs oversight from Congress. If you look at what these CDFIs were funding, many of them continue to be woke. They continue to be pushing an ideology.
What?
It's very harmful. I'll just give you a 4.9 for Local Initiative Support Corporation that publishes blogs condemning the level of whiteness in community development.
Okay. That sounds like a lot of feeling words and not very descriptive of whatever the program was. Because I'm going to tell you, any program pushing an ideology is not funded. That's not how government grants work. That's not even how private foundations work. You have to be much more rigorous. Nobody gives you money for that shit. Oh, he is kind of quiet, yeah.
When a CDFI does a loan, it is exempt from ability to repay requirements. So you're getting a loan on the books that is not necessarily as sound and secure as one that would come from a typical bank. So we have issues with this program. The president proposed to eliminate this program in an EO. It's why you see a reduction in our budget. We eliminate the main program, and then we have a new $100 million program for what we would think of as new rural CDFIs that I think can be more targeted. So I get the question, but that's where we're coming from.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you very much. I'll yield.
Wow.
I yield 5 minutes to my friend from California, Mr. Panetta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member. Director, it's good to have you here before the Budget Committee. Although I agree with the Ranking Member, it shouldn't have taken this long. And unfortunately, though, that we've seen is that delay, to me, is one of many examples of the broader disregard by this administration for Congress and for our system of checks and balances. Now, don't get me wrong. Executive authority exists. We get that. We understand that. But it does not extend to the administration unilaterally withholding funding that's been appropriated by Congress. I'm not just saying that. The law mandates it. Impoundments occur when the administration refuses to implement federal expenditures authorized and appropriated by Congress and enacted into law. In fact, there's been 235 years of constitutional interpretation, case law, and statute which have made that clear, that once a law is enacted, the executive branch is not permitted to refuse to execute that law. An impoundment would basically replace the rule of law with the rule of one person. Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution clearly gives Congress the power of the person that states that no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequences of appropriations made by law. And the Constitution mandates that the President take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Now, as we heard today, and as you know, in 1973, President...
This is not the approach that I think is a very good approach, because these guys don't care about that. They don't care. What this time should be used for, congressional staffers, as you're writing these things for these guys to talk about, what this time should be used for is to attack specific cuts that are being made and demonstrate the inauthenticity of this regime to the American people. That is what your time should be spent on. I want you to have done the analysis on the budget and to be able to pinpoint and point out where this regime is consequential in a negative way to the entire population of the United States, except for the billionaires. So that is what but if we go down the same road of, well, isn't what you did illegal and isn't what you did, they don't care. They've already said. Anyway, sorry. I just feel very ranty today. God, I'm sorry. I'm going to put them on a different channel so that they're louder. Sorry about that. I know they're very quiet on my channel, so hold on.
Nixon attempted to impound billions of dollars of enacted clean water appropriations over the objection of Congress. And as you know, in Train v. the City of New York, the Supreme Court unanimously disagreed with President Nixon. That decision was even relied upon as precedent in the court's 98 decision striking down President Clinton's use of a line item veto to block certain portions of a spending bill. As you know, Nixon's attempt at impoundment was the basis for the 74 Impoundment Control Act, which banned impoundments. Yet despite that law, despite those Supreme Court rulings, and as you mentioned today, this president, this administration, and you believe that impoundment is within the president's power. Your general counsel argued that nearly all enacted laws are merely just suggestions and guidelines that give the president and the executive branch substantial discretion to follow, alter, or even disregard. Your administration basically asserts that a president has mandate to eliminate spending to balance the budget by any means necessary. The problem with that, though, Director, is that the Constitution of the United States does not have a presidential mandate exception. And when it comes to impoundment, there is no language in the Constitution that makes it optional. If this administration continues to impound or appropriated spending, you are basically eliminating Congress's power of the purse. You are basically cutting off Congress in the budget process. And I think as members of this committee, that is something we should continue to push back on. But since this comes to you and your impoundments and your elimination of programs, your attempt to lay off CFPB employees got struck down in NTEU versus VOUGHT. The preliminary injunction was granted to stop your attempts to withhold congressionally appropriated funds from the National Endowment for Democracy. The Council for Opportunity in Education versus the Department of Education, there was a preliminary injunction to stop the releasing of federal TRIO funding. In Pasito versus Trump, there was another preliminary injunction to suspend the U.S. Refugee Assistance Program. And in the city of Chicago versus DHS, the administration tried to impound
I'm so sorry. I didn't know my mic wasn't on. I just wanted to say this actually I agree with. This is good. Him going down the line of all the losses in court that RUSS, OMB, and all the shenanigans that they've tried. So that's very good, and I'm down for this. Thank you, sir.
Shelter and Services Program, but that was stopped by a court. In the National Council of Nonprofits, or OMB, the administration tried to put a government-wide funding freeze, and that was stopped by the courts. In the National Fair Housing Alliance versus HUD, HUD refused to release Fair Housing Initiatives programs funding, and that was stopped by the courts. Director, given these court decisions, given the Constitution of the United States, given the law of this land, do you still believe in impoundments?
200 years of presidents had the ability to spend less money
Once again,
than Congress
Director,
provided.
do you believe in impoundments?
Of course I believe in impoundments.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
The Supreme Court has never spoken on this issue, by the way. All of what you said is largely not true and heavily new.
In regards to Train versus City of New York,
No, that's not true. It was not on impoundment. It was a textual issue.
And isn't it true that Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution clearly gives Congress the power of the purse?
To set the limit.
Isn't that correct?
To set the limit on what an appropriation should be.
And despite all this, you still believe in impoundments,
We believe
correct?
vitally in the Constitution's ability to make sure that we can't spend a dollar that you haven't appropriated. That is the constitutional provision.
Director, reclaiming my time, once again, that is why I believe this Congress needs to push back. We're not seeing it with it.
Here's the other thing I wonder. So in that regard, that Congress sets the limit of what'll be apportioned to, each whatever. But does it then say that OMB shall, right, distribute the funds, or does it say what does it say in regards to OMB's responsibility to allocate? Because I think it's presumed in the language, this is my fear, is that it's presumed in the language that if Congress allocates it or appropriates it, it's spent. And I think he's relying on the fact that there's not a specific directive, but I'm wondering if there is a specific directive for the spending, the actual physical allocation of those funds. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty high because I've been smoking a couple of strong things this morning. So, but I think that's my question is because I know they're trying to skate between laws, and that should concern you. If a regime is trying to move between laws, that's troublesome. That should cause concern because that's not transparent. Kids, welcome to This is Transparency with Miss Lolo. I'm Miss Lolo, and I'm going to talk to you today about what is transparency. This, kids, is not transparency. This is corruption.
This leadership,
Sammy.
but come November of this year,
came and visited.
the American people are going to make sure that you understand what impoundments are about.
Congressman,
Thank you, and I yield
The
back.
gentleman's time's expired. I yield 5 minutes to my friend from Texas, Mr. Roy.
I thank the chairman. I thank you, Director Vogt, for your appearance here today. I thank you for what you've been doing for the country. And on impoundment, let me just ask you a question so the average American can understand what we're talking about. You're talking about the power of the president to reduce spending where appropriate in certain areas, but not to actually spend additional money, correct?
Absolutely correct.
So we're talking about a ceiling, and Congress says we're going to spend X, and the president says, you know what, maybe, just maybe, somebody ought to be responsibly looking at how we spend money and say that we're not going to spend every single dollar that has been put in that account. Is that roughly what we're
Correct.
saying?
If Congress has given us the charge and says we're going to X billion dollars on nursing facilities across the country, and you give us a number and we can do it less than you have given us, why on earth wouldn't we not spend less? And the American people benefited this for 200 years.
Because you haven't done the analysis, you're just cutting it. This is such a fucking lie, people. Does anyone see? Can I have a chud come into the chat who hates me? I get it. If you hate me, just come in the chat and tell me why this makes sense to you. I mean, honestly, I'm not going to get mad. Just tell me honestly why this makes sense to you. Why you would want any president to have the power to say, well, you know, you gave 1,000 million to hungry children. Well, I don't think I'm going to give you $1 million. And then I'm going to hold it because I think you might be doing fraud. But I'm not going to actually investigate any fraud. I'm just going to talk about the fact that I'm investigating fraud while I hold your money. That's not right. That is not right. You should demand better. I mean, this regime is objectively corrupt. And the World Liberty Financial thing that's coming up the ass of the Trumps is going to make them more desperate to protect their asses from going to prison, which is really why we're here, is that this man doesn't want to go to prison for the rest of his life. And he knows that his time is limited to lock that down. But they are committing war crimes. They are trying to gut the UN. They are getting us out of allyships that we have had for decades. They're not building allies, they're breaking allies. Who are our allies right now? Vietnam? Venezuela, because they have to be? Argentina, because that guy, Milei, is going up for trial, and guess what? It's the same team that he's kind of being investigated on for his crypto shit. It's the same team behind that crypto shit that's been behind the Melania coin. So Hayden Davis, the guy we talked about yesterday, he's in the middle of the Trump family and all of their crypto crap, as well as the fact that their largest investor, Justin Sun, who just got a presidential pardon and his SEC case dropped literally a couple of months ago, last week wrote a big expose saying, I am telling you right now, World Liberty Financial is a scam because they cut him out of his voting rights and he got mad about it. And this is a guy who was literally pardoned by the president, had his SEC case, his Securities and Exchange Commission case dropped against Binance. He's a billionaire from, I don't know if he's from China or I'm not sure where he's from originally. But this guy is pissed. And he's spilling tea in the lap of the Trumps and the Witkoffs. So guess what, kids? I think Trump's life is going to get a whole lot worse. He doesn't have to worry about Melania going out and pre-admitting to crimes. I don't know what that was about. Way to bring up something no one was talking about. Whatever. Now we're talking about it. So they've got pressure, right? There's pressure building on this regime. Now that means to me that it could be kind of swapped out. Like maybe his usefulness is going to outweigh his problematic, I think. His problematic is going to outweigh his usefulness. And so that's why JD went to Islamabad, I think. Now, JD fucked the couch in Islamabad. He appeared so weak after that. I cannot believe that JD Vance, I mean, there's parts of JD that are very smart, right? He's very wily. He's very manipulative. He's very whatever. He's very like fit into everything. Like I'll just fit in wherever, smarmy. So he's smart from that standpoint and, educated, I guess. But he's very dumb about the really important moments. And these guys on this stage have played it for years. And JD is way out of his league. And I don't know if he was sent there because the donors are starting to get nervous about dump, or he was sent there to watch Witkoff and Kushner, because there's all kinds of talk about Jared Kushner being an agent of the Israeli Mossad or whatever. So there's all kinds of rumors about that. So I have no idea, but they are definitely trying to portray JD as presidential. And so that to me means that maybe Trump is starting to just kind of like lose his charm with the donor class. Like maybe he's just, he's whatever. He's just too problematic. He talks too much. He says things that he shouldn't say, all that kind of stuff. Anyway. In a few minutes, we're going to be going to, unfortunately, a White House briefing. And it's going to the reason I want to go to it especially is because it's Mrs. Beasley. And you forgot she existed, Kelly Loeffler, who is the head of the Small Business Administration. I know. I forgot she existed. And every time I forget she exists until I see her on screen and I go, oh, my God, there's the Stepford wife. There she is, fully converted. Anyway, all right, we'll listen to a little more and I'll monitor when they start the press thing. It's getting so old.
And as a result, in 1974, now we have a system where agencies and bureaucracies push the money out the door at the end of the fiscal year. So we have big screen TVs and copy machines in every agency across the federal government trying to make sure that Congress knows that they have spent every last dollar up to that ceiling.
No, I can't imagine that's how it works. I think when you have a budget, you've submitted a budget as an agency, right? I'm the agency of Lolo. I submit a budget to my superiors at the federal government, I guess. And that budget is very specific. It doesn't include big screen TVs unless that's necessary for the program that I'm running, right? That we have maybe a office-wide television or it's used for meetings and conference calls and shit like that, right? There's reasons for shit like that. But I'm going to tell you right now, there is not just this pile of money that comes into an agency. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's how it works. It's certainly not how it works in a nonprofit. I don't get a chunk of money and then I can spend it any way I want because I have to report to the federal government how I spent that money. And if I didn't spend it wisely in a quarter, they may not give me the rest of that grant. And so I would imagine that federal agencies have similar structures where they have, an ability to evaluate their agencies because the agency says, what are going to be my performance indicators that justify me asking for this money, which are drawn, those are always backed up by budgets. That forecast expenses. Hello. I mean, like, this is not, he's trying to portray everything is just kind of like, it was just willy-nilly before we walked in. That's just utter bullshit. That's disingenuous bullshit. She sold millions of dollars in stocks immediately following a private senators-only briefing on the pandemic, which occurred shortly before the stock market plunged. Yes, honey, Max. Kelly Loeffler's a corrupt piece of shit.
In fact, has Congress given you any indication or belief that they are willing to constrain spending as a body?
Well, until this last year where we had the end of fiscal futility, we sent, I will just
need a large enough.
This now, Secretary Mullen, to the state of Texas and other
Jersey.
Thank you. So I was just trying to figure out where could I find a needle large enough to burst the bubble that you guys live in. Because you're not living in reality. And you're creating a narrative, and just because you say it, you think it's true. And so I've sat up here and I've listened to a whole bunch of explanations that don't in any way, shape, or form relate to reality. I got a couple of questions to ask you, sir. I'm going to start with one that's going to give you a moment to speak, and then I'm going to ask you a series of yes or no's. And when I say yes or no's, I want yes or no's. What would you say right now to the mothers of the kids who died because of your dismantling of U.S. aid? Harvard study says there are more than 100,000 of them. Can you give me a quick response to what you would say to those mothers? Just don't talk to me about the study. Talk to me about what you would say to the mothers of the children who died.
Congressman, with great respect, I would just contest that the extent to which institutions that benefit from federal largesse put out studies that say that the world has ended, that the world has not in fact ended.
Well, it's going
we
there.
only cut
If you're not going to answer the
USAID spending
question.
last year.
They are not, that is not true. And there are multiple studies about what is happening in countries because of the lack of USAID grants. There is already well documented the deaths that occurred because aid was cut off. Okay? He should be struck by lightning. If there was a God, this is why we know there isn't, he would be struck by lightning, or whatever it is. He would be smited. But that's not happening. But listen to the actual, this is an admission. He is more focused on, I just got to disparage Harvard. I got to throw that in there. There are multiple studies about the impact of USAID cuts. And it's real. And real people died. And real people are suffering right now. Because this man has a fever dream to be the architect of destruction. That has been always his dream. He has wanted to dismantle the federal government and end all kind of, liberalism programs. Because his bosses are the billionaires that need the lack of accountability, the lack of taxes, the lack of adjudication, the lack of regulation, the lack of oversight. That's his job. His job was to build that, and he's building it. So he can sit there and brazenly say that he's proud of what he's done, and he thinks things are unconstitutional, so therefore he doesn't have to pay attention to them. That alone should be so shocking. Sorry, I know, I'm very talky today. I'm so sorry.
To the tune of about $8 billion. There was far more that we could have done, Congresswoman.
Reclaiming my time. If a mother came before you who told you that her child died because she didn't have access to health care or medicine that usually would be available because of the kindness of the United States of America, that you and this administration have eliminated, would you have anything of empathy, compassion, and humanity to say to her? Would you say to her, I am sorry, that was a mistake?
I always have empathy for individuals, including those that get improper and false information from the media that pumps this false and ignorant information out to the American people.
You know, I am so tired of hearing false, fraud, and abuse from any of my colleagues and even from you. Because if we wanted to eliminate abuse and fraud, we'd eliminate the President of the United States from the office right now and the rest of the sycophants in his administration that are allowing him to do so many illegal things. So here's my yes or no's. This is about your budget, and this is about your priorities. Do you think that it is more important to fight a war of choice with a country that represented no threat to us, rather than supporting cuts to Economic Development Administration, to K-12 programs, to community service block grants, to National Institute of Health, to the TSA, and let me speak something about the TSA. Anytime you wanted to spend money to pay DHS, you could, because this president thinks he's a king and can do what he wants to do. And if he wanted to pay those DHS workers, he could have, because he finds money to do everything else he wants to do. What about the money that goes to homeless assistance programs? That's $393 million, or $60 million for fair housing, or eliminating or cutting Job Corps to the point that it's of no help to getting people on the right direction. And even the money for community development financial institutions. Sir, do you think that those programs which address the quality of life, the opportunity of life, the healthiness of the people in this country, including their access to health care, is less important than fighting a frickin' war across the world that never, ever, ever had to be started? Yes or no is all I want.
It's not a war of choice.
Just say yes or no.
It's not a war of choice.
I don't care what you think it is. I ask you for the yes or no. That's all I want from you.
It is an important national security objective that Iran not.
That is another piece of the bubble that you live in, and that's another part of the information that you all share to create a narrative that has nothing to do with reality. And the people of this country are showing you, location by location, state by state, county by county, and city by city, that they don't believe you all anymore. And let me talk to you a little bit with my 3 minutes or 3 seconds about the cost of living. You keep talking about what you saved here and what you saved there and how you saved this one and how you are more diligent in your savings. Well, the people in this country, they don't feel it with their health care. They don't feel it with the gas they got to put in their cars. They don't feel it when they go to the grocery store. They don't feel it when they try to avoid evictions. They don't feel that you all have stood up to any of your promises, that this is an unfortunately monetizing, lying, corrupt administration.
The gentlelady's time has expired.
I yield my time.
We're now going to yield 5 minutes to Mr. Andrew Clyde from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director VOUGHT, for testifying before us today. Apologize for the abuse you've had.
House Budget Committee.
And I appreciate the work that this Congress has done, in particular, in that vein.
Well, we will continue trying to make us as fiscally responsible as possible. Within the President's budget, I noticed something new, a new initiative focused on the Second Amendment. $1.4 million to a new office within the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division dedicated to protecting the Second Amendment from unlawful.
I think part of that is to trust the team that the President has that envisioned this office, and then to continue to make sure that we give progress reports to the Appropriations Committee for those who have a great interest in this area, and to make sure that over the long haul, that culture does not become completely reversed to that which what it was set up to do.
Would it help if we codified some of that?
I think that would be a great idea, yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll work on it. Thank you.
Yep.
And I yield back.
Thank the gentleman, and now yield to Ms. Ballant from Vermont, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. VOUGHT, it's good to finally see you before the House Budget Committee. Mr. VOUGHT, you lead the Office of Management and Budget. You're one of the architects of Project 2025, and OMB is a powerful agency that's at the center of President Trump's illegal refusal to spend federal money. Mr. VOUGHT, I want to go over your political weaponization of this agency against the American people, and specifically against those states that voted primarily for Democrats. Yes or no, Mr. VOUGHT, a federal judge found that you terminated $7.6 billion in clean energy grants based on whether the recipient lived in a blue state. Yes or no?
I don't recall what that judge said, but we have not made the determinations based on whether
the state
is...
In fact, Mr. VOUGHT, on January 12th, 2026, U.S. Judge Amit Mehta said, quote, defendants, meaning you, Mr. VOUGHT, freely admit that they made grant determination decisions primarily, if not exclusively, based on whether the awardee resided in a state whose citizens voted for President Trump in 2024. Mr. Vogt, yes or no? Federal judges said OMB's freeze of $10 billion in child care and family assistance funding, quote, appeared designed to punish communities that the administration agreed with. Yes or no? Was that something that federal judges said about you and your leadership?
I think the judge's characterization is getting at the degree to which we are focused on states that we think are mismanaged.
Okay,
heavily.
that is not in fact the case. In fact, U.S. District Judge Trina Thompson found the administration broke the law and froze funds as a politically motivated move disguised as fraud prevention. So your characterization actually is false. Other courts have said that withholding congressionally approved funding is, quote, vindictive and unlawful. Courts have found that freezing funds create, quote, irreparable harm against the American people. And the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, the watchdog agency that investigates how federal agencies spend taxpayer dollars, has reported that you broke the law multiple times, and they have said that you have refused to spend money that was dedicated for Americans. The Constitution gives Congress the power to spend money and not the president. Mr. Vogt, your actions clearly show that you want to cut federal funds from anyone who didn't vote for Donald Trump. Are you trying to get revenge on states that did not vote for your boss?
No, of course not. What's interesting about the question is that Joe Biden withheld.
Oh, for goodness sakes, can we please bring it back to my question? It was a yes or no question. Are you?
Oh my God, this is what his argument is. Biden held money for the wall. What in the fucking hell? This isn't even good bullshit, right? Like, this isn't even good spin. He's so bad. Look at how red he is. Because he knows. She just went through all of these courts who have commented on the corruption in this person, in his person. Look how red he's turning. Because he knows he's guilty. Because really what this all comes down to is people who support this kind of bullshit have immense amounts of self-loathing. They hate themselves. And what they really need is a hug, probably. Hi, Esmeralda. They need some kind of therapy in order to move beyond their anger at themselves. Because that's where all their hate comes from. Yeah, he's red as a motherfucking beet right now. And blotchy red. You know, like the blood is rushing, but it can't get everywhere. Kind of thing, right? Yeah. Well.
You trying to get revenge against blue states because they did not support the president. Courts have said that, in fact, you did do that. That, in fact, you are being vindictive. In fact, you are punishing because of political persuasions. It's not members of Congress who suffer when you do an end run around Congress. That's not what I'm angry about. It's not about you taking the power away from us. It's that it's their money. It's their power. Of the people, by the people, and for the people. The House is closest to the people. So when you do an end run around Congress, you're taking Americans' power. I want to move on now to wasteful government spending.
Yeah,
particularly the $350 billion set aside for this, yes, war of choice against Iran, included in this president's budget. His budget asked for a shocking surge in Pentagon spending, up to $1 trillion. We have never in the history of this country seen spending like this, paid for by slashing healthcare, education, and housing. Donald Trump has said, as my colleagues have said earlier, we're fighting wars here. We can't take care of daycare. Mr. Vogt, yes or no, is $350 billion for the war in Iran lowering costs for Americans? Those Americans who ask us in every single town hall why they can't afford to live in this country. Is the war lowering costs for Americans?
It is certainly not defunding childcare. We fully fund childcare in this budget.
Is it lowering costs for the American people?
But doesn't that get at the premise of your question?
You can find money for illegal wars in Iran. You can find money for all the pet projects of this administration, and yet we can't find money to alleviate the costs of food and housing
fully
and gas
funded-
on the home front. But according to
Fully
you,
funded childcare, fully funded Head Start.
Mr. Vogt, with the money that is set aside in this budget,
They fully fund to the limits that they set. So he's again using language to skirt around the answer to the issue. Okay? So, but Clyde said vote was being abused. Yeah, exactly.
the additional funding for the war in Iran, $350 billion, we could fund the ACA tax credits for 10 years, for a decade. And I can tell you what my constituents want to know.
People this year.
How would
Okay, they started their little stupid thing, so I'm going to leave this. She's wonderful. And I'm going to take this one over here.
Whoa, hi. Hi, Caroline. Look at your face. What a great face that is. Yeah, see? Yeah, see? Put the money in the bag, see?
All right, here we go. I'm sorry. It's just one of those days.
The campaign trail in 2024, President Trump looked voters in the eye and promised them he would sign the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. And on Independence Day last year, President Trump
He did for the corporations. Yeah.
and congressional Republicans delivered, passing the largest tax cut in history for working and middle-class Americans, including no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. They also passed unprecedented tax relief for small businesses, farmers, workers, and families. With Tax Day officially here, the numbers prove these tax cuts have been nothing short of extraordinary. More than 53 million filers claimed at least one of President Trump's signature new tax cuts. The average refund this filing season is more than $3,400. The Trump administration has
Which I've been monitoring on the IRS data website about the refunds. The refunds have gone up about, at most, about 10%. That's the average refund, but less people are getting them. So, yeah. Might not be the picture that she's trying to paint.
has issued more refunds and larger refunds than in any year of the history of our country. And I will allow Secretary Bessent to break down the numbers in greater detail. President Trump and Republicans in Congress have always believed that the American people know how to spend their money better than the government does. But what the American people must not forget is that every single Democrat in Congress voted against these tax refunds. The media has largely omitted this fact and other critical details in their stories covering the benefits of the Trump tax cuts. If the Democrats in Congress had gotten their way and blocked President Trump's historic legislation, Americans would have faced the largest tax hike in history, nearly $4 trillion. The average taxpayer would have seen a 22% increase in their tax rates. Democrats in Congress have proven over and over again that they are the affordability frauds who believe the government should keep more of the American people's hard-earned money. This president and Republicans in Congress fundamentally believe that Americans deserve to keep more of their hard-earned paychecks. It's a clear contrast for American families to keep in mind. So with that, I will turn it over to our great Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, and then he will turn it over to Kelly. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Caroline. I'm here to tell you that it has been a fantastic tax season. It has gone smoothly. It has gone efficiently from the point of view of the IRS, but most importantly, it's been a great tax season for the American people. Thanks to promises made, promises kept, through the working families tax cuts, the president has delivered the record refund.
There is about, so I'm just putting this on the screen. So this is the IRS data on 2026 filing season. Okay, total returns. This is 2025, this is 2026. They've received about negative 1.6%. So they're down almost 2% on returns received. They're down about 1.5% on returns processed. Let's see, let's go down. So there are a few more refunds. There's 3.1%. There's a 3% increase in the number of refunds. So that one actually has equalized as of April. And then the total amount refunded is higher. It's about 14%. But the average refund is still hanging in there about 10, 11% higher. So I'm still calling bullshit on the fact that this is like a huge success for Mrs. Beasley. Wait, I gotta find Mrs. Beasley. Hold on. But he's gonna paint it as one, so that's fine. But there's also, I think I would be interested to see what the revenue is from taxes, to see how I'll look that up, because that to me is kind of interesting to see, is the revenue that we receive from taxes going up or down? Because actually that to me indicates whether or not the tax breaks for the corporations are making an impact on the revenue that we get. So anyway, let me just pull this one out of here. Where am I? Okay. Beep. And then wait, I gotta find Mrs. Beasley because I have to. I need you, Mrs. Beasley. I need you, Mrs. Beasley. Where are you, Mrs. Beasley? Where are you? Oh my God, did I lose you? No. Mrs. Beasley, where are you? Yes, we are waiting. God damn it. Why is this so freaking hard? Do I literally... Oh, I have her in here. Okay. Fuck. Mrs. Beasley. Oh, there you are. There you are, Mrs. Beasley. Oh, you're 2 layers deep. Oops. There you go, Beasley. Beasley? Okay, well, you know what, Mrs. Beasley, you can sit right there for now, because we got to go.
Funds to the American people. More than 45% of the filers of the returns that we have seen have had at least one of the 4 president's signature policies: no tax and tips, no tax and overtime, the deductions for our great seniors, and the deductibility of interest on auto loans for American-made cars. And I will tell you that one of those that Americans have taken is no tax and overtime. And it's the American way. If you want to work longer hours, you get to keep more of your money. And with that, we are seeing, I want to encourage everyone out there watching today to change their withholding if they haven't already done so, because if you change your withholding, then you will get an automatic real wage increase on a weekly or a monthly basis, and you will be able to keep more of your money this calendar year. So with that, we have also seen with the Trump accounts, we have had 5 million families file for Trump accounts for their children. 1.2 million of those are eligible for the $1,000 seed bonus. So we look forward to that picking up more and more. For those of you who haven't done it, it's easy to remember, Form 4547. You can do it while you're filing your taxes. You can do it at any point during the year. We think this is going to be transformational in terms of financial literacy. This is Financial Literacy Month, and at Treasury and all over the administration, we are working with the American people, with American families, not only to give them more of their money, but to show them how to invest it in a safe, smart, and sound way. So with that, I will turn it over to Kelly.
Great. Thank you, Scott, and good afternoon, everyone. Excited to be here on Tax Day, important day for small business, because small business and their employees have real relief thanks to President Trump's working family tax cuts. As Administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration, it is my great honor to serve our great President as the cabinet-level voice for America's 36 million small businesses. President Trump is right. Small business is big business. Indeed, they are a massive economic engine that creates 2/3 of all new jobs. They represent 99% of all businesses, and they drive about half of our GDP. The working family tax cuts are putting money back into the pockets of the hardest working Americans. That's why small business and their employees are benefiting the most. President Trump and congressional Republicans have saved Americans from a $4 trillion tax hike, including a staggering 20% tax increase on working families. It would have destroyed millions of jobs. Now, I've traveled the country from Maine to Alaska, And not a single worker, not a single small business asked to pay $1 more in taxes. Yet every single congressional Democrat voted to raise taxes, not just on small businesses, on our workers, on our seniors, on hardworking families. Thankfully, Republicans united behind common sense policy of letting Americans, not Washington bureaucrats or fraudsters, keep more of what they earn. Now, so far, as you've just heard, 12 million small businesses have an average tax saving of $7,000. The 20% small business pass-through deduction is now permanent, offering them certainty to plan for the future and the rocket fuel to create 1 million new jobs. Eric Williams at Prince Manufacturing in rural Georgia, he specializes in fabrication and machining. This year, he's reinvesting his tax savings to hire 500 new employees. The provisions for 100% expensing of equipment, expansion, and R&D are also growing production to help us reclaim industrial dominance. At Blue Patriot Fab, which I visited this week in Omaha, the owners highlighted one of their newest buildings, and they call it the Big Beautiful Building because the tax cuts helped them build it. Made in America is back. And that's why the America worker is winning too. No tax on tips and overtime means that millions of employees are now rewarded, not punished, for working more. And it's already benefited, as you just heard, 31 million taxpayers. In Baltimore, John and Tony Minidakis are proud second-generation owners of Jimmy's Seafood. Now, with no tax on tips and overtime, their 200 employees know that coming into work means going home with more pay. And Wade, a CNC machinist that I met at Lehigh Valley Plastics in Pennsylvania, said he routinely takes on extra shifts, and now the tax cuts reward his extra effort. And the benefits aren't just for tax season. As you've heard, the Trump accounts are connecting young people from birth to the power of our free enterprise system. With 529 savings accounts and Workforce Pell for trade schools, we're now training the next generation of skilled workers to fill millions of open jobs at small businesses. So in closing, America is open for business again. Yet every Democrat voted no on the very tax relief that is restoring Main Street, that is putting more money back into the pockets of hardworking families. Small businesses are rebounding from years of Biden inflation, decades of unfair trade, and massive regulatory overreach. But thanks to President Trump's tax cuts, they now talk about expansion, hiring plans, and generational opportunity. This is America First in action. Lower taxes, rising wages, and a thriving Main Street. Now millions of Americans are getting their largest tax refund ever, and Main Street is getting historic tax relief to keep the American dream alive. Thank you.
Good. And before we take questions, I want to provide some numbers for you all. So tax day statistics as of April 12th, over 53 million filers, nearly 45% claimed one of President Trump's signature tax cuts. The average tax cut for filers benefiting from one of President's new tax cuts is over $800. Over 6 million filers have claimed no tax on tips with an average deduction of $7,100. Over 25 million filers have claimed no tax on overtime with an average deduction of $3,100. Over 30 million seniors have claimed the enhanced deduction for seniors with an average deduction of $7,500. And over 1 million filers have claimed no tax on car loan interest on American cars for an average deduction of over $1,800. The average refund this filing season is over $3,400. Over 34 million families
that is a
have claimed
riding helmet.
Republicans'
She's got a
enhanced
riding
child
helmet on.
tax credit, which is permanently doubled
Why
and
can't you tell
expanded
that?
by the working families tax cuts. Over 105 million filers have claimed the permanently doubled standard deduction, simplifying tax filing for millions across America. So as much as people do not like to pay their taxes, and we saw a survey today that 70% of Americans still believe that they are overtaxed, this is a great day for the American people.
Thank you, Scott and Kelly. We'll now open it up to questions. You're welcome to ask me questions.
I do want to say something here, okay? I'll link the data too so that you can see the tenuousness with which this administration is trying to spin the tax cuts. I was just trying to look at what are the sources of revenue for the government when it comes to tax income, individual versus corporate, just as big buckets. And it seems to me that the individual, and I'm going to do some more research on this, but that the individual tax revenue, we make up about, I think in 2025 it said we made up about 40% of the revenue that comes into the government is through individual tax revenue, not corporate. Corporate is like 9 to 11%. And that, I think, and I'm going to look at the long term because the CBO did that 10-year view, and obviously it added billion or trillions to the debt. What is happening is the tax burden is shifting even more greatly to the individual. The revenue is coming from us. The revenue is not coming from corporations. Yeah, tax wealth, not work. So, and it looks to me, and I'm going to check this, is that it was 39% in 2025, and they're forecasting that it is approximately 50% of revenue accounted for as individual income taxes. Literally. 50% of revenue in early FY 2026. And that's from the U.S. Treasury fiscal data. I'm not like pulling that out of somebody's ass. Yeah, where's your cut? I know, right? So I think some of the tax cuts are great, but they're just pablum. They're pablum and they expire in 2028. So do enjoy them now. I mean, they're wonderful. And hopefully whoever gets into power in 2028 continues good tax policy when it comes to working Americans. But this is not good tax policy. This is shifting revenue burdens onto individuals, both through the income tax system and through their illegal tariff scheme, which is just basically increasing prices because ultimately importers are going to pass along that to us. And guess what, kids? If you're excited somehow about tariff refunds, don't get too excited because that money goes back to the importer who paid it. Not to you, not to me. It goes back to the people who paid it. So that's not coming in the form of any checks. Nobody has the power to send you any money. We are at the highest deficit amount. Government debt is the highest it's ever been, and it's increasing. And the fact that they want to raise the military, this is just laughable. Military budget going from $1 trillion, which is already the highest, to $1.5 trillion in 2027. A 42% increase on defense. That's like Wolfowitz is spinning in his grave right now. Like, why didn't we do this? I mean, these guys are making Bush look like, he had a mediocre effect on our lives. I'm like, my mind is blown. Yeah, anyway.
Questions or either of the great cabinet officials next to me, and we'll start as always with our
I'll
new
move
media
Mrs.
seat, Mr.
Beasley.
Posobiec. Why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary Bessent, if I may, there's been this media narrative out there that while we see the data on tax refunds, that it's not good enough, that the tax season has been too soft. What is your response to this media narrative regarding the tax refunds?
Look, it's been an incredible tax season. We have done more with less at the IRS, that we have moved over millions of taxpayers to digital tax accounts, and that leaves us able to service more taxpayers in person and on the phone. And as we can see, the economy was very strong. We are seeing growth across the board in all areas. And
what? The economy is very strong? What the fuck do you think is strong? I would hate to see what you think is weak. Even your buddy Jamie Dimon can't paint that kind of picture. Holy shit. You are living in a fantasy land, my friend. I think you must have done some bad things and you have to, kiss somebody's ass. Oh, I can't find Mrs. Beasley again. Boy, you are one squirrely thing here. All right, Mrs. Beasley, you got to sit down here because we can't see him. You can't see him
as
lie.
Kelly said, small business, Main Street are really the big beneficiaries, and this is what they don't want you to hear. That Wall Street always done great. This administration is
Hi,
focused
Carrie.
on parallel
Good to see ya.
prosperity and bringing prosperity back to Main Street, and that starts with people keeping more of their money.
And one for Caroline as well as the administration in general, if I may. This past Saturday, I published a video of now former Representative Eric Swalwell in bed. And the president's heading to Las Vegas. Well, Eric Swalwell was in Las Vegas in this video. I'm told, according to geotagging, this scandal has erupted now, accusers coming forward, many others coming forward, as well as questions regarding his extremely close relationship with Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego. And I want to know if the administration had any comment on the fact that Senator Gallego seemed to be very vocal about wanting the release of the Epstein files, and yet when questions come to his own involvement with Eric Swalwell, he doesn't seem to want to provide anything.
Yeah, look, I think the accusations...
Okay, that's almost slander, all right? Ruben Gallego doesn't claim to be involved. He was stupidly standing up for Eric Swalwell because he's stood up for him in the past, and he's not been implicated in any of the activities that Eric Swalwell was. They're trying to take down as many Dems as they can with this one. And I'm not really a huge fan of Ruben Gallego. I'm not a huge fan of Eric Swalwell. And in fact, it did fuck up the California governor's race, I think, a little bit because it just threw. But actually, I think it's a good thing in the long run. And it certainly is good if the things that he's done are absolutely, yeah, exactly. So the things that he's done in his private life, first of all, I can believe that friends don't know about what he's been up to. Okay, I can actually believe that, but it sounds to me like he's getting his due based on his behavior, and that is what I stand for. So if he's done these things, or at least he's starting to admit to have done some of these things, and it'll be adjudicated. That's the right thing to do. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much it fucks up the California governor race, because he shouldn't be in the California governor race. And everyone is pretty okay with that. So I think that what we're seeing here is that Democrats do hold some standards for behavior. Obviously, we want to make sure that it doesn't go on for years and years. That's ridiculous. So I'm not standing up for that. But when the shit hits the fan, at least there is a response that says, yeah, that's it. And that's what we have to do. So we have to move on. We did it with Al Franken. We did it with all the people that have been expunged from the record kind of thing. And the bottom line is if you've done something, you got to move out. You cannot be part of this. You have lost your ability, and it should be adjudicated, and the women involved should receive justice. But the other side won't even allow investigation of credibly accused child rape, multiple times by the President of the United States. They will not allow us to even entertain that, given the evidence, which is very similar to the evidence that is occurring in the Swalwell. We don't have a video yet, but those are out there, babes. So I'm going to tell you right now, the fact that you guys don't want to investigate the problems in your party speaks volumes about the fact that you don't care about this issue. How about that? Turning tables. So if you care about children, you would want everything investigated. And let the chips fall where they may. That's what happens. That's how he got adjudicated and convicted of rape of E. Jean Carroll. That's how that happened. That's how he got charged and convicted on 34 felony counts of fraud and misleading financial statements, where his CFO sat in a prison cell in Rikers for refusing to testify and be transparent. Who knew about it before the shit hit the fan? I don't know. But you know what? I'm not sure that we're, like, I just don't know if that's where you want to go, because if everybody knows everything, then everyone should leave. But, I think that there are also dangerous political games that I think are important to be aware of and not let those get in the way of justice. But that should be equal treatment under the law. And if there are credibly alleged accusations on the President of the United States that have been suppressed or disregarded by the President's FBI, January of 2020, then that's a problem. So if we're all on the same page with that, fantastic, but I'm not confident that everybody's on the same page.
Allegations against former Representative Swalwell are despicable and disgusting. I think it's also quite plausible, as you point out, Jack, that there were many other Democrats in this town on Capitol Hill who knew about his perhaps illegal behavior, certainly his disgusting and inappropriate behavior. And why were they silent for so long? I think those are questions that must be raised of these sitting representatives, including Mr. Gallego.
Girl,
and I hope that
then strap in, bitch. Strap in. Because when we take the fucking House and Senate, we're going to fuck you guys all the way up with your bullshit lies and your bullshit double standard that now you're so offended that even people who knew about it have to be exercised. Well, but not the people who knew about whatever the president was doing, not the people that were that phone records were taken because it was credibly alleged that they would be involved in the coup on January 6th. This is such a bullshit banana republic crap.
journalists in
I'm
this
gonna
room will
stop
do their
now.
jobs, and the journalists on Capitol Hill will do their jobs to ask Democrats in power how they knew about such despicable behavior from one of their elected representatives for so long, but never said or did anything about it. So that's what we hope to see as far as the White House and the president is concerned. Thank you. Peter.
Thank you. I have one for you and then one for Secretary Besant.
Sure.
For you, Caroline, there are now 10 American scientists who have either gone missing or died since mid-2024. They all reportedly had access to classified nuclear or aerospace material. Is anybody investigating this to see if these things are connected?
I've seen the report, Peter. I haven't spoken to our relevant agencies about it. I will certainly do that and we'll get you an answer. If true, of course, that's definitely something I think this government and administration would deem worth looking into. So let me do that for you.
Thank you. And Secretary Besant, it doesn't sound like we're going to have $3 a gallon gas by summertime, which we had initially been told by the Energy Secretary. He now says that it would be very aggressive if we're going to get to the $3 a gallon gas by the summer. So when are we really going to get $3 a gallon gas?
Well, I think that's going to be the up to how the negotiations go. President Trump said this morning that he thinks we're nearing the end. The U.S. kept their side on the ceasefire. We've stopped firing. The Straits of Hormuz have not been completely reopened, so we will see. And I'm optimistic that during the summer we will see gas with a 3 in front of it sooner rather than later. It's Bank Week here in D.C., so I've been meeting with a lot of my Middle Eastern counterparts, the finance ministers, and they all say that once the straits are open, they can start pumping again within 1 week.
So not by summer.
Can I just ask a question? Can I ask a dumb question? Actually, and Scott, you're looking very pasty these days. I don't know what's happening, honey, but you're not eating enough of something because you're looking very pasty and worn down, which is a good thing because I want you to just shrivel and die in this role, frankly, because you've been evil. But that aside, so why if we in this country are energy independent, as they say, in fact, energy dominant, why are our prices so high if we don't rely on stuff that comes through the hormone straits? Why, if we don't rely on the hormone straits for fuck all, do our prices on fuel go up? I'm confused. I'm confused. Has anyone asked that question? I mean, is there a reason? I mean, there might be a reason and I just don't know it. It could be just good old capitalism where if the price goes up in one country, it goes up in another. Oh, because of OPEC. So we agree that can we not use our own oil? We just export? We don't actually use it for us? So we can't lower prices by using our own oil. It's a global market. So we have to pay the same prices as everybody else, even though our oil doesn't go from... I read because we sell our oil to the world. Okay, my question again is, then why don't we not sell it all to the world, and why don't we use some for us? If indeed we're so, fucking powerful and got this. Well, yes, and we subsidize. I mean, we can talk about that too. I guess I'm just asking why our prices are so high if this isn't our issue. So, I mean, what, couldn't you have a special price for Americans? I'm confused. Help me make it say it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Like Memorial Day, but maybe by Labor Day?
Again, I'm optimistic that sometime between June 20th and September 20th that we can have $3 gas again. And as I said this morning too, we are going to be watching the gas stations because they raise prices very quickly when when the crude oil prices went up. We hope they'll bring them down just as quickly as crude oil prices have come down, which they've come down substantially just in the past 10 days.
Great. Sure. Thank you so much, Caroline.
Okay, actually, before they go to the next question, Honey Max has some info. U.S. refineries are largely built to process heavy crude, yet produce light crude, forcing continued imports. That makes sense. I'm just trying to be a bitch, and I'm trying to point out the hypocrisy of wanting to help the American people by doing unusual things and figuring it out, and apparently we just don't. So that's interesting. It seems really inefficient, but okay. All right, sure.
Can you give us an update on the president's thinking on the next attorney general? A lot of names have been going around, like Ron DeSantis, Rudy Giuliani, Ed Martin. They're being floated as contenders. What qualities is the president looking for in a new AG?
Rudy Giuliani? Rudy? As attorney general? I don't even have a Rudy picture anymore because I thought he was going to die before this point in time, to be honest. And I just got rid of all my Rudy pictures. But Rudy? Rudy Giuliani? Biden sold U.S. reserves when it was high and lowered the price by flooding the market, then bought the reserve back when the price dropped, saving U.S. billions. Oh my gosh, Carrie and Tom, under Joe, we produced more oil than any time in history. Is that a joke? Rudy, I got my hand in my pants? I don't even have a Rudy because, again, I thought he would be dead by now. Wow. Well, okay. Guess what? Rudy's coming back in rotation.
Will there be accountability for what many have described as weaponization within
Oh my God. The voice that you hear is Cara Costranova or something like that. She's a right-wing operative. She used to hang around Freedom Corner and, dick around with those idiots. And she is just a fucking traitor, actually, to the country. And I don't know what outlet she works for, but Cara Costranova is the farthest thing from a journalist ever, just so you know. That's the context for this question.
Biden's office when he was the president?
Sure. Well, certainly ensuring that there's accountability for the weaponization of justice that took place under the Biden administration is a top priority for this president. With respect to names that are floated, there are always names floated in the press. Sometimes I have a chuckle when I read some of the reports about certain people floated for certain jobs. As far as the president is concerned right now, Todd Blanche remains the acting attorney general. The president feels he's doing a good job, and that's where it remains right now. I don't have any personnel updates for you today. Annie.
Thank you, Caroline. I have a question for you and also for the Treasury Secretary. First of all, there was an interview that Dr. Mehmet Oz did recently where he described the president's views on his own diet. He said that he argued that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. And if you pour it onto the grass, RUSS is killed and it therefore must kill cancer cells. I'm wondering if you can, was this sort of an accurate description of how the president sees?
Look, as we all know in this room, I think you know the president has a very good sense of humor. It's one of his most underreported characteristics, I would say. I have heard him tell this joke before. I think the Wall Street Journal should get a better sense of humor.
And then another one for you. Has the president filed his taxes, and is he going to release them publicly?
It's actually a very good question. I have not inquired with the president directly about his own taxes, but I'm happy to do so, and we'll get you an answer on that.
Secretary Besson,
I have filed my taxes.
The president has publicly said that you are the reason that he has not fired Chairman Jay Powell. Will you make that case again to him, as he's recently said that he still wants to fire the chairman?
Look, I am confident that the process that we have laid out in terms of Kevin Warsh becoming the next Fed chair, he's going to have the hearing on the 21st of this month. He's a great candidate. We know that the Republicans on the Senate Senate Banking Committee are aligned in that, and I am very optimistic that Kevin Warsh will be the chair of the Fed on time, and that will be a moot question.
Stephen, go ahead.
Secretary Bessent, you mentioned that the no tax on overtime is the biggest one that people are claiming. I think you said 25 million people. Have you seen evidence that more companies are offering overtime or that people are working more overtime and increasing their productivity? And the second question, the health insurance industry is advertising heavily in D.C., describing themselves as the good guys in the whole healthcare system. President Trump has threatened to haul in their executives and force them to lower prices. Can you provide any update on the administration's efforts there?
Okay, so I'll take the second one last because that's not my area. I don't wear a lot of hats here, but I am sure that the president makes his views known with corporate executives, and if that is true, then they will be hauled before him. And with overtime, as Kelly and I go out and talk to employers and workers around the country, they all want more overtime. And there was this narrative that I think over 2 million illegal aliens have either voluntarily deported or been deported, and that there would be a worker shortage. Well, what better way to fill that gap than with overtime for hardworking Americans and for them to keep more of it?
He wants you to die. He wants you to die working. That is what this is all about. They want you producing. If you're not producing, you're not worthy. That's what your government thinks of you. And they decide what is productive. They determine what is worthy, not you.
I'll just add that a great example are the factories that we see coming back thanks to 100% Made in America expensing. Coosa Steel is a great example.
Companies building in America receive 100% of expensing of those costs in the first year. It used to have to be kind of amortized or spread out basically over, 5 years or something like that. And so imagine what that's going to do to the corporate revenue that we receive as a government. I'm going to do some more digging into this over time because I want to see what everyone is saying that the percentage of individuals representing the revenue income from taxes is going to grow and that corporation tax will become less significant. I don't know. She's got a big bump it on in the back. She's got a big bump it. Yeah, she can harvest. She can work in the fields. I would love to see that. It ain't going to happen. She's a billionaire on her own. Anyway, so yeah, that, I just, come on now. Come on. I like to be, no, I'm not going to say it. Her hair looks off. Yeah, like she kind of didn't glue no, it actually looks like she has a bump it on. I'm going to be honest. She teased the back of that hair. And this is probably, I don't know if this is extensions. I would imagine she has extensions, but that she has some hair. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think most of this is extensions, but she's got a basic head of hair. Look at these two. Look at these two morons. Fucking idiots.
In Rome, Georgia, where the owner was down to running one shift 1 day a week. He's up to 2 or 3 shifts 5 or 6 days a week. So thanks to reindustrializing this nation through our
my hair is big today, but it's because it's dirty. I haven't washed it. So that's why my hair's big. Maybe her hair is big because she didn't wash hers either. That could happen. That could happen. I know. I'm not into personal comments. I actually am into personal comments. When it comes to Nazis, I'm all over it. So I'll do it for you, Carrie. You take the high ground. I'll take the low ground. I don't mind being the low road girl, okay? You guys can stay on the high road. I'll go in the low road when it matters. Aw, thanks. Well, my hair is dirty today, but that's okay. It actually is fine.
Manufacturing base, which
I'm
most
okay with it.
manufacturers in America meet the small business definition, 98% of them. We're seeing more shifts taking place, more opportunities for overtime, and then more willingness of workers to take on overtime shifts because in the past they were penalized by the tax system for taking on overtime.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thank you. This is for Administrator Loeffler. You talked about how the One Big Beautiful Bill benefits small businesses. With small business optimism falling in March, is the administration planning on providing any additional tax relief or other resources to small businesses that have been affected by high fuel prices during their run operation?
Yeah, so one data point does not a trend make, and the long-term trend under President Trump has been for small business optimism to be above its 52-year average. Under Joe Biden, small business optimism fell below that average for...
Who gives a shit about small business forecast or attitudes? I don't care about attitudes. I care about data.
34 consecutive
God.
months because small business was being crushed by regulation, massive red tape,
I know.
the
We're
threat
just
of
getting
high
it out of our
taxes,
system.
and all the burdens of the Green New Deal. So right now, small businesses are really in growth mode. They're planning to hire, and the optimism is very strong. If you see in the NAM survey, National Association of Manufacturers came out, their optimism is up 5 points. So I think this is temporary, and we'll get back on trend.
What's the status of extending the Iran ceasefire, Caroline?
Yes, so I saw some reporting, again, bad reporting this morning, that we had formally requested an extension of the ceasefire. That is not true at this moment. We've remained very much engaged in these negotiations, in these talks. You heard from the Vice President directly and the President this week that these conversations are productive and ongoing, and that's where we are right now. I've also seen some reporting about the potentiality for in-person discussions again. Those discussions are being had, but nothing is official until you hear it from us here at the White House. But we feel good about the prospects of a deal. The President mentioned that in his interview yesterday, and it's obviously in the best interest of Iran to meet the President's demands. I think he's made his red lines in these negotiations very clear to the other side, and so we are continuing to see how these conversations go.
Would those talks be in Islamabad, or where would they be the next round?
They would very likely be in the same place as they were last time, yes. With the same, I would just want to make one point that's important to the President. The Pakistanis have been incredible mediators throughout this process, and we really appreciate their friendship and their efforts to bring this deal to a close. So they are the only mediator in this negotiation. While there have been many countries around the world who want to offer their help, the President feels it's important to continue to streamline this communication through the Pakistanis, and so that's what continues to take place. Will.
Thank you, Caroline. How much room do you see for additional sanctions being placed on Iran? And do you feel like the United States is getting enough support from allies on that front? There was a letter that went to Oman and some other allies that suggested maybe the sanctions weren't, this could be for Secretary Besson as well, but the sanctions basically weren't having the effect that the United States wanted.
I'll let the Treasury Secretary who's in charge of sanctions answer that question.
Yeah, I think that's not a correct characterization. Yesterday, we announced Operation Economic Fury, and we, for over a year, we have had maximum pressure on the Iranians, both on blocking payments into the Iranian state and going after the accounts of the IRGC. One of what may prove to be fatal mistakes that the Iranians made was bombing their GCC neighbors, and who are now willing to be much more transparent in terms of the funds or do a deeper dive in investigating the funds that are held within their banking systems. So we have pushed out to them the request that we want to freeze more funds of the leadership of the IRGC and any members of Iranian leadership. The other thing that we have done is we have told countries that if you are buying Iranian oil, that if Iranian money is sitting in your banks, we are now willing to apply secondary sanctions, which is a very stern measure, and the Iranians should know that this is going to be the financial equivalent of what we saw in the kinetic activities.
Is this an example of expanding the war economically as opposed to militarily? Is this another phase in that?
Exactly.
Secretary, what was the coordination? Any update on the insurance program, the U.S. reinsurance program for ships and tankers sailing through the Strait of Hormuz? Any update on that, sir?
Well, it's now up to $40 billion. It's run through the DFC, and we are waiting for the ships to be able to get some semblance of normality, and then they can come to the DFC and our private sector partners and request the insurance.
No Mothman.
Companies out there right now nervous about this whole thing, saying,
Did he say we're giving insurance to people and nobody's asked for it? I need to hear that again. I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
Through the Strait of Hormuz. Any update on that, sir?
Well, it's now up to $40 billion. It's run through the DFC, and we are waiting for the ships to be able to get some semblance of normality, and then they can come to the DFC and our private sector partners and request the insurance.
And what do you tell private shipping companies out there right now nervous about this whole thing, saying, wondering if they should even get near the strait?
What's that?
What do you tell to encourage shipping companies to do business through the strait?
Well, I think we're going to have to wait and see when they are permanently open.
Okay, so you can't yet. So he's saying there's going to be insurance when it gets safer. And he also said that he has private partners within that shipping insurance. Who are those private partners? Is it Chubb Group? Is it Chubb Group who's given the president millions in donations? Because we can talk about the Chubb Group too. Because I think they're the ones who are the private partners to this. I think this is a huge boondoggle, and shit's going to be absolutely bananas. We've seen it in the last 365 days, so we need to set a yearly date for the Mothman. Yeah, we do. I was just going to ask you about the Mothman prophecies. We got to find a different Mothman movie. I don't like that one with what's his name is too sad. I don't know. Anyway, this is the what I was showing you was the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities. It's a think tank about taxes, and it has an article, I haven't read it yet, about the overhyped deductions for tipped income and overtime do little for workers. So just so you know, I mean I think there's things you can't. Yeah, the Trump brothers insurance. That's it. They bought an insurance company too. They bought a drone company right in the military. I mean, we talked about that at length, but oh, there's so much to cover. I wish we could just fight like the genocides that are happening in Sudan. We need to talk about Sudan because they're being eradicated and starved to death. So we need to talk about the Sudan. I might try to stick it out a little bit to read that article, but here we go. Let me finish this out. I'm sorry.
Because this is a mechanism, when we declare that it is safe, they also have to have insurance. Lloyd's of London had skyrocketing insurance during the time. The rates are still very high. So we want to provide, the U.S. government will make a profit on this, but we want to provide a more normalized level and an economically sound basis for ships to move in and out of the Gulf as they did before the start of the conflict.
Caroline, I appreciate it. Thanks, Caroline. Yeah, thanks, Caroline. I appreciate it. So, I want to cover two topics, if I could: the tax day, but also
that's
the
interesting too, Esmeralda.
So the confirmation hearing set for next week for Kevin Warsh, but Senator Tom Tillis is still a no, and he's holding firm on that. How are you going to win over Senator Tillis to get this confirmation out of committee?
Well, I'm sure Senator Tillis wants to do the best thing for the Federal Reserve, for the American people. He has publicly said that Kevin Warsh is a great candidate for the chair. So let's get to the hearings and see where we are then.
I want to ask you about tax day, if I could. So the tax gains that you've talked about through the One Big Beautiful Bill, is that going to offset the consternation from Americans, for lack of a better term, over the $4 gas gallon of gas?
Well, again, as I said, no one's ever objected to more money in their pocket. So the Americans have more money. They can decide how they want to spend it. And I did want to come back to the overtime question because I was up in Westchester County last Friday, and I met with several of the first responders.
Okay, I don't really care about your stupid ass, bitch ass answer. Okay, let me tell you. Okay, the U.S. government is funding a $20 billion to $40 billion maritime reinsurance plan for Persian Gulf shipping through the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, a federal agency. Chubb Limited is the main source. Yes, they funded his bond for E.G. Carroll that he needed to pay. Chubb is up the ass of this regime so badly. So it is Chud. It is Berkshire Hathaway. It is Travelers Insurance. It is AIG, to Esmeralda's point. Those are the private companies involved. Liberty Mutual is also involved. But Chubb is the lead private insurer behind this ridiculous idea that government money, 20 billion of our government money, our money, is going to fund the insurance for ships going through the strait of the hormone straits, as he would say. That's your and my tax dollars at work. 33,000 people on April 1st lost their their access to food stamps in Solano County, California. But we are going to use tax dollars to supplement billionaires who are shipping shit through a strait that we endangered because we started a war that now we can't get out of. Good job, everybody.
Them to be able to be engaged and keep more of their money.
For both of you, perhaps, are President Trump's threats of a 50% tariff against China still on the table now, or is the letter exchange that you talked about now taking that off of the table?
Well, as you know, the president spoke about the letter with respect to he and the correspondence between he and President Xi. President Xi assured the president that they are not supplying Iran with weapons throughout this conflict, and that assurance was made to the president. It's obviously something the administration keeps close tabs on with respect to tariff. You have any update on that, Mr. Secretary?
I don't have an update on the tariffs, but I do have an update on sanctions. Iran used to be the largest state sponsor of terrorism. China was purchasing more than 90% of their oil, which is about 8% of China's energy needs. We believe this blockade in the Straits, there will be a pause of Chinese buying, but I will tell you that 2 Chinese banks received letters from the U.S. Treasury. I'm not going to identify the banks, but we told them that if we can prove that there is Iranian money flowing through your accounts, then we are willing to put on secondary sanctions.
And are you
Nick.
What? They're saying, I mean, why wouldn't there be Iranian money in their banks? Because they basically are dealing with Iran on their oil. Okay, the people do trade outside the United States. Okay, I'm sorry to tell you the story. China is looking to establish economic dominance everywhere they can. They're really not into like taking over countries. I mean, yeah, they're probably going to do that with Taiwan, and they're probably, they're definitely, not great people. No one is in government. I think Oomph said it best. He's like, no government is really, for you. And he said it better than I did. But, that actually I agree with. I agree that there's just no good regime, right? Because inevitably the people who want power and oppression can rise to the top. And here we are. And even in small ways, right? We've been complicit in plenty of things over my lifetime as a country. So, we have no moral high ground to stand on. And we certainly don't now, because we started this war with zero plan on how to solve it. And more people are just dying in the meantime. And our prices are ridiculous. People can't afford to work. I feel so bad for all the delivery and gig workers who rely on fuel to get their jobs done. And having that cost increase almost double at this point is unbelievable to me that the country would stand for something like this. I just, it's really, oh man, it's so hard. It's so hard.
Go ahead. Thank you, Caroline. Go ahead, Nick.
Just a quick follow-up. So my question are you considering any more sanctions relief, Mr. Secretary, for countries that are suffering right now in order to get more oil to your allies?
We will not be renewing the general license on Russian oil, and we will not be renewing the general license on Iranian oil. Because again, that was oil that was on the water prior to March 11th.
Right.
So all that has been used.
Nick, go ahead.
Treasury Secretary, as you both noted, 53 million Americans have used one of these new tax exemptions the president enacted. Can you speak to not only the relief that's bringing specifically working class Americans like waiters, bartenders,
This is
overtime
so
workers,
insane. It's
but
just
also
insane.
the impact this is going
It's
to have on the
insane.
economy?
Well, a couple of things there is I can tell you, I think Kelly's very popular, but I think with service workers, I may be the most popular cabinet secretary in D.C. because when I show up, a doorman, the not so much bartenders, but waiters, waitresses, they all say, thank you for no tax on tips. Again, I was in a diner up in Westchester County, and this is a home run. The interim tax rate for everyone making more than $500,000, that is a small business killer.
I have one question for the Secretary and then the Administrator. Mr. Secretary, since we're on the topic of China a few minutes ago, we are a little over a year past Liberation Day, the tariffs. The goods trade deficit with China has dropped sharply. Are those gains sustainable, and are you worried about any retaliatory actions that could go against those gains?
I actually think we're going to be building on those gains in terms of the trade deficit dropping with China. Since last summer, there's been great stability in the relationship, and really the keystone to the relationship is the strong respect that the two leaders have between each other. My experience has been when the communication is at the top, then we follow that directive and those wishes. We had the meeting in Busan, Korea in October. We will be having the state visit in Beijing, and so I expect great stability in the relationship, but that doesn't mean that our trade deficit can't continue dropping.
Go ahead, for the Administrator. I know that there are orders and shipments of factory equipment. They are at record highs. How many small businesses has the SBA assisted with loans and supports, loans to support them?
Well, the SBA set an all-time lending record last year of $45 billion under President Trump, because small businesses now have access to the capital that they need to build in America. Again, we are becoming a nation of builders, and we see that on the ground, factories expanding. As a result, we have record PMI, which is Purchasing Managers Index, manufacturing expansion, 2 consecutive months in a row of export records. And so when you look at where our nation has come in terms of export-import imbalance, it's been unfair to the American worker and to American industry, and we're reshoring whole industries because of this tax bill.
Libby.
Libby,
go ahead.
Thank you, Karen.
Go ahead, Libby.
I have 2 questions for you. The first one is about Iran. The second one's actually about United Airlines that I want to ask you about. So on Iran, is there a timeline for how long this blockade is going to remain in place in the Strait of Hormuz by the United States that President Trump has voiced to you or that you've heard among officials?
Sure. I will never set timelines on behalf of the President of the United States, but with respect to the blockade, as you know, it has been fully implemented, and it's being enforced against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports. I want to make that point clear. I've seen some misreporting on that as well. This includes all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. And our U.S. forces in the region are supporting the freedom of navigation for vessels that are transiting the strait to and from non-Iranian ports. So I know some some in the press were confused about that. We are supporting the freedom of navigation, just not with respect to any tanker or vessel that would benefit the economy of Iran as these negotiations continue.
So there was reports that the CEO of United proposed a merger with American Airlines. This would affect tens of millions of Americans. That was proposed in a meeting with President Trump. Was that a merger that he has voiced any kind of support of?
It's not anything that we have a position on or anything we're commenting on. I know it's an idea that has been proposed by private industry, but it's not something the President or the White House have an opinion on or are weighing in on at this time. John, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. This is for Secretary Bessent. On Monday of next week, importers can start requesting claims for tariff refunds. And my understanding is $127 billion eligible for refunds. What's that process look like? How can a porter and an importer request such a refund going forward?
That's not being run out of Treasury. We would just be the paymaster, so that's being run out of CPB. Yep.
And so explain that process. I understand you're not running it. How does that process actually work? If you're an importer, you paid these tariffs, the Supreme Court found that those tariffs were illegal. What's the process for them to get back that money?
Well, they would be in touch with the CPB, and I think the number you're quoting is so that's the amount who have already requested refunds. So they are already in the chute, and we'll see what the timeline is for that.
Will that affect the U.S. economy, all of those refunds coming out of the U.S. Treasury?
We'll have to see what comes out, and we'll have to see what the companies do with them. Just to be clear, thanks to the Supreme Court, some of this money is going back to China. So is that going to affect the U.S. economy? I don't know.
A question for Secretary Bessent.
Thanks, Obama.
Mr. Secretary, you were quoted as saying in an interview earlier this week that it was worth a bit of economic pain for international security. Is that this administration's message to American voters with high gas prices that ahead of the midterms this year that it's worth the economic pain?
Well, the message is
I don't give a shit, but I just wonder.
Short-term volatility for long-term gain.
And Danny,
short-term volatility for long-term gain. Wow, man, you would have been a great stockbroker for like Merrill Lynch or someone like that, Bessent. You probably were. You probably sold all kinds of false promises about how great it's going to be. I was just looking at the trade deficit with China. It's high. It's probably the highest it's been in a minute. It goes up and down. And so, but the trade deficit with China, I don't think is going to change significantly. It's always, I think it's at, 39 million or billion or something like that, or whatever. So, yeah, it's not going to change. Why is her nose so far away from her lips? I don't know. That's a genetics thing. I'm not really sure. Hi, Al. How are you? So she doesn't smell the shit she knows. Well, that definitely, they don't care. They do not care. This is an acting job. I mean, I really applaud the acting. And trust and believe. I know these are true believers. They believe that protecting billionaires is their raison d'etre. That is why they are here. That is why they exist. To support pedophiles, to support child rapists, to support adjudicated rapists who intentionally inflict tariffs, raising the prices on Americans for good. Doesn't stop. Okay? So that you can say goodbye to. Prices are going to be high. Importers are going to get the money back, and what he's implicating is that if the importers get the money back, oh, maybe they'll pass along that. No, they're not. Oh my God. They're not going to pass along shit. And little Stepford secretary or whatever she is, she was lying to you, okay? Because I just looked at the PMI, and the PMI has gone up in the last couple of months. So I just love that they can stand there and lie to you and rely on the fact that you're not going to go to a website to check any motherfucking numbers. Well, that's not how we do it here. We check your numbers. Anyway, welcome, Al. It's good to see you. Al Munson also has a show. It's more neighborhoody, I guess I would say, talking about people in our neighborhood, as well as the larger issues. I mean, Al's rants are legend to me. They're the best rants on the internet. So if you want a good rant, Al Munson is your guy, okay? Raise those prices for true freedom. Feel the freedom, baby. It's surging through my wallet right now. Taking everything and leaving. Yeah, Mrs. Beasley can go fuck himself. And so can KKK Caroline.
If I could add to that, the president's been very clear. Again, as the secretary just said, this is a short-term disruption for the long-term strategic goal of the United States to ensure that the world's leading state sponsor of terror cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. That's a good thing for the American people. That's a good thing for people all over the world.
You don't bomb your way into people not having weapons. You just don't. What you're doing is creating a population of people that are really pissed off and radicalized against the United States because all they see is bombs and bullshit. Right? So fuck us. So this short-term disruption was completely self-inflicted. And because our president is beholden to people like Bibi Netanyahu, who is a true war criminal and should be, and today said that he's going to push ahead in Lebanon and in Iran. The man wants more land, more power, and to stay out of prison, which is a common theme. Because Klump is here because he wants to stay out of prison. And I'm just waiting to see when they're going to swap him for J.D. Vance, because maybe even the donors are going to get tired of his bullshit. Now, granted, I don't think J.D.'s going to stand well because I think he folded in Pakistan. I think he was ineffective and a terrible leader, and his spin on it when he came out sounded weak and ineffective. So vote like you mean it in November, because that's what we've got in terms of an action right now. Certainly protest, and please get people to vote. Please help people understand how to get good information about voting. Vote for the pro-democracy candidate. That's all I'm asking. Vote for pro-democracy. Vote to move us away from authoritarianism. Know who your representatives are. Know who your judges are. You can read bar summaries of judges, and the bars of states will give judges a rating based on their whatever. I don't know. You can read the methodology there. But I know it's hard, but do the research to find out who these people are and what they represent, because that is one way they get the ground game going on incursion and trying to disrupt liberalism and disrupt support for people in the community. Is that they have really focused, as Steve Bannon said, on flooding the zone with disinformation and inserting people at local levels in the school boards, in city councils and other places, mayors, that are pushing the pro-MAGA agenda. So know your candidates, know the measures. It's hard, but this is the time when it's more important than ever to be as informed as you can. Go to Ballotpedia. That's a great website. Go to, what is it? I can't remember now what it is. Damn, I'm going to find it. But I'll put some lists of things I like, websites where you can help research your ballot. But it's going to be so important. I mean, that's what we have. What we have in our hands is the power to vote. And for what it's worth, we have to act like it's everything. We have to give it attention and care. We can't assume that nothing is going to improve even if we vote. You can't be that. It's such a defeatist attitude. I don't know. I can't be there. I can't be in that space. I have to believe that we're moving towards a more perfect union, as flawed as we are and have been. I just feel that. So I think it's important to vote your conscience and really understand who is standing for you at every level of government. And really call out the maggots, because their agenda is putting people in out groups, destroying people's lives, destroying public education, destroying the social safety nets that we have. So please understand what you can.
And as the president and his economic and energy team have repeatedly stated, as soon as the operation and now the negotiations with Iran conclude and the strait is reopened, we do expect gas prices to decrease. And thank goodness we have a president and an administration that believes in American energy dominance in bringing down prices at the pump. Look at how gas prices decreased over the past year since this president was in office. It's a stark contrast to the previous administration and Democrats
Oh, girl,
in the
you're
city,
lying.
who believe in hampering our domestic energy industry, who believe in importing our most precious resources, who believe in implementing policies that created the worst inflation crisis in history. So President Trump has built the greatest economy in the world
Those are
before.
feeling words.
He
Those
is
aren't
doing
real
it again.
words.
Of course, we have this short-term disruption, but again, it's for the long-term strategic goal of ensuring that these terrorists cannot possess a nuclear bomb. Jennifer.
You know what? New people come along who can produce a nuclear bomb. Stop it. That's not going to work. Hello, this is dumb. Why are we not calling this dumb? Because you cannot bomb your way into peace. You just can't. People have tried. Now, I understand that these guys aren't interested in peace. I understand that. It's not relevant. This is fine. Everything is fine. As long as Jamie Dimon is happy, everybody is happy.
Secretary Bessent, on the Russian oil, I know the sanctions waivers have expired, but how much money did Russia benefit from that temporary sanctions rules? You initially said about $2 billion. Is that?
It could have been $2 billion. We don't know. But again, let's think of a different world where oil spiked to 150, and they would have made a lot more by doing that, by pushing the Russian barrels that were already on the water. They were going to be sold. They were going to China no matter what. We pushed them to our allies. We helped stabilize the oil price. And as you can see, there were doomsday scenarios. Oil's going to 150. It's going to 200. It's going to $250. West Texas crude for the front month delivery is about $92 or $93 now.
I'm just going to tell you that before, probably the lowest point in the last year that West Texas, was priced was around $58 to $62 a barrel. He's crowing about $92 a barrel. First, that's one. And then number two, he was saying something. He's saying he stopped Russia from making more money by letting them deliver that oil now than waiting until the price increases. So what this man just admitted is that he intends, or he forecasts, that those prices are going to increase. Well, we couldn't wait till it got to $150 a barrel. Then they would have made more money. This is bad. Any way you spin this war is bad. War crimes? Check. Probably, corrupt alliances and blackmail? Check. How many times has the American taxpayer bailed out the bum Jamie Dimon? I'm going to tell you right now, we're not done bailing him out either, Al, because get ready for private equity. Oh, boy. And we're not just going to be bailing out Jamie Dimon. Let me tell you who else we're going to be bailing out. People like Blackstone or BlackRock or whatever they're called. People like Apollo Management Group, or, who is actually fucking Leon Black, who raped children credibly as part of the Epstein files and not one time has had to face his accusations. That is a problem. That's who we're going to bail out next, is all the child rapists. And I don't know what Jamie Dimon knew and when he knew it, but why isn't Jess Staley, who used to work at his company, who was very implicated in the fucking Epstein files, who was over in the UK facing justice for other fraud crimes that he's committed, why don't we have Jess Staley sitting in front of Congress testifying about what happened? Why don't we have Leon Black sitting in front of Congress testifying about what he knew about Jeffrey Epstein and his network? Why don't we have Melania sit down, since she's so interested in telling us all about her non-relationship with Ghislaine and with Jeffrey? Why don't we have her sit down in front of Congress and take an oath to tell the truth? Anyway, yeah, bailouts.
Thank you, everybody. I know we have two very busy cabinet secretaries with us here today. Before we do depart, just one final announcement. As you know, this year we celebrate America's 250th birthday. In honor of this historic occasion,
we celebrate the death of America. And you know what? Here's a spicy take. I think it's okay if the America of the past dies a little. Because I am fully now on board with the fact that we do need to burn some things down. You know, I'm always a, save the good parts kind of person, but I'm also not the generation that needs to shape the next administration. So it shouldn't be up to people in my age group to do that. It should be younger people who are going to have to live with what they create. But my hope is that we do build something that is far more equitable, that caps a CEO to employee pay ratio, right? I think that is a fine thing to do. You want to pay yourself $1 billion? Well, guess what? You're going to have to meet a ratio of how much you pay your staff in relation to your $1 billion, if that's what you truly want. We're going to get to a point where we tax wealth and not income. We're going to get to a point where it's not you have to dangle more overtime so that people work themselves to death, but that you're actually giving them a shorter work week with more remuneration so that they can live lives that are truly pursuing happiness and truly stimulating this economy. Because if you build from the bottom up, then you will have a much more sustainable model than if you just continue to try this trickle-down thing that is not going to work. Now, I get it. They don't want it to work. It doesn't have to work. You don't understand. Because also part of this regime has been to deregulate industries to the point where people in Memphis, outside of Memphis and Boxtown, Tennessee, can be dying and have severe health implications because Grok XAI has wind turbines that are against code, but nobody's enforcing the codes, so it doesn't matter. That's the future we look at. It's the same as when I grew up in California and PG&E was, doing all the shit before Aaron Brockovich. Okay? So listen, this is where we're headed. We're headed back into that dark time when there is no accountability. I'm looking at studies about tax revenue telling me over and over again that the individual portion of tax revenue will rise over time and is already about half the revenue that we get from taxes come from people, and about 9% comes from a corporation. That's fucking ridiculous. And onshoring? Fuck you. We're never going to be able to onshore, nor is there an intention to. Companies are moving into how to use AI to streamline their operations and cut out the biggest expense that they have, which is people. Oops. Oh, whoops. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
President Trump and the Department of Interior will submit plans for the United States Triumphal Arch, which will be an architectural masterpiece to celebrate our history right here in Washington, D.C. This is a rendering of the Arch for you. Thank you, Peter. It's quite beautiful, as you can see, and this monumental arch will beam at 250 feet tall in honor of 250 years and stand on ground that is currently empty green space in Memorial Circle on Columbia Island, a man-made island in the Potomac River managed by the National Park Service. The United States Triumphal Arch will be outfitted with beautiful artwork and depictions celebrating the success of the American people over our 250-year history and the enduring triumph of the American spirit. Long after everyone in this room is gone, our children and grandchildren will remain inspired by this national monument. Beginning construction this year on the architectural arch is a fitting way to commemorate the 250th anniversary of American independence.
How much are taxpayers paying for this? I'm curious.
Great nations build beautiful structures that cultivate national pride and love of country, and this triumphal arch should be a project that all Americans of all political persuasions can support.
You want it to be, but it's not going to be,
for
honey.
every American to celebrate 250 years of our nation's
We're
proud
not
history.
doing it. It's not going to happen,
The plans
I
for
predict.
This will be submitted tomorrow. We'll have many more announcements with respect to our 250th anniversary in the coming months as we look forward to the 4th of July. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, that arch is the death of America, just so you know. And hopefully the birth of a new America, but that's going to be a minute, I think. We're not going to birth a new America right away. It's going on an island. How will we parade our nukes through that? Well, okay, with boats and with those people on like water skis. Remember how they have the water ski shows? Carrie, that's how we're going to do it. And people are going to water ski over the ark. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. We'll have the tanks. You know those tanks that came out for the military parade that were creaky? We're going to have them there too. They'll be great. It'll be tough on the water, but it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Have a better warrior ethos, Carrie. God damn. What the hell? What's wrong with your warrior ethos? Your warrior ethos is broken. Okay, well, I want to end with this article, actually. I'll remove Mrs. Beasley because she's not really relevant to this conversation. I guess she is relevant in some ways, but she doesn't deserve to be on the screen for this one. So let me just get her out of here. Oh my God, girl, where are you? God, you're always hiding. You just want to hide, don't you? You don't even want to be associated with this fucking thing. Where did she go, though? Man, you really leave. You really just, like, sneak around. Doug Frank. Yep, I got him. God, I have a lot of stuff. Poltergeist. Yeah, I got that. Where'd she go? Wow, you're a scary girl. Scary girl. Mrs. Beasley, you're a scary girl. Why are you looking at me that way? Why don't you turn your eyes away? I want to get a Mrs. Beasley doll. Now I'm kind of like thinking I want to own one. I don't know why. Because I'm dumb. That's probably why. Let me see. Where did I move her? I'm going to have to read this with her goddamn face on the screen. I know it. Let me see if I can magically... Ah, there she is. Good night, Mrs. Beasley. All right. Well, this is from Reuters from April 12th. And I put up a post yesterday on Blue Sky about the crisis in Sudan with this article and then also with kind of a backgrounder on the Sudan situation. Genocide. However you want to put it. Put the YouTube. Oh, wait. So mote it be. They're trying to put explosive diarrhea curse on Caroline. Creaky tanks. Or cranky tanks. Where are the witches and warlocks sending curses? I know, right? I still hope anything that happens on national television because I think we deserve that. Thank you, God. Or whoever you are. Actually, again, I don't think that God exists because otherwise somebody would be smited. Really. Okay, April 12th. Sensitive material. This image may offend or disturb. Saddam Najwa, a malnourished 17-month-old. That baby is almost a year and a half that you see on the screen. Out for a cup of water at the pediatric ward of the mother of... Oh, I can't read that. Mercy Hospital in Gidel near Kauda within the Sudan's People Liberation Movement controlled area of the Nuba Mountains, South Kordofan. That was from June 25th, 2024. Millions of people in Sudan are surviving on just one meal a day as the country's food crisis deepens and threatens to spread, according to a report published Monday by a group of non-governmental organizations. Sudan's war between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, which enters its third year on Wednesday, has caused widespread hunger and displaced millions of people amid one of the world's largest humanitarian crises. Bye, Teresa. I love you. I'll see you later, girl. Thank you for coming today. Always appreciate you. You're a big source of my information, and I really adore you. So thank you, Teresa. Oh, wait. Oh. In the two areas worst hit by the conflict, North Darfur and South Kordofan, millions of families can only access one meal a day. The report by Action Against Hunger, CARE International, International Rescue Committee, Mercy Corps, and the Norwegian Refugee Council found. I'm going to tell you right now, that is one impressive list of nonprofits. That is one impressive list of nonprofits that really do the work and understand what's happening on the ground. Often they miss meals for entire days, the report stated, adding that many people have resorted to eating leaves and animal feed to survive. The army-aligned Sudanese government denies the existence of famine, while the RSF denies responsibility for such conditions in areas under its control. Some 61.7% of Sudan's population, 28.9 million people, is acutely food insecure, according to the 2026 Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan. The United Nations has reported widespread atrocities and waves of ethnically charged violence. In November, the Global Hunger Monitor confirmed for the first time famine conditions in Al-Fashir as well as Kadugli. In February, the UN-backed Integrated Food Security Phase Classification found that famine thresholds for acute malnutrition have been surpassed in Umbaru, where the rate of acutely malnourished children under 5 was nearly double the famine threshold, and Kernoi. The report, based on interviews with farmers, traders, and humanitarian actors in Sudan, details how the war in Sudan is driving communities toward famine conditions due to disruptions in farming, as well as the use of starvation as a weapon of war, including deliberate destruction of farms and markets. Communal kitchens are increasingly unable to meet rising needs, while major donor funding cuts. I need to look at that and see who's cutting aid. Okay. Uh-oh, there we go. All right, I'm just going to save that. Communal kitchens are increasingly unable to meet rising needs, while major donor funding cuts are impeding aid agencies' abilities to respond, the report said. Women and girls have been disproportionately affected as they face a high risk of rape and harassment when going to fields, visiting markets, or collecting water, the report said. Female-headed households are 3 times more likely to experience food insecurity than male-headed households, it added. So that's the story currently from the Sudan. I'll link both this article as well as the backgrounder for people who may not be as familiar with what's happening in the Sudan. But it is bad, and we are pretty silent on it. So, in fact, I think he just calls Sudan a non-country, like Somalia. Like, I think he considers they're not real. Yeah, that's right. That's where we're at. That's where we're at for this Tuesday. No, Wednesday. I'm losing days. Oh, you gotta have heart. All you really need is heart. Do 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 do. Imagine there's no people living for today. You might say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Yeah. It's a mad world. But you know what's good? There are good people in this mad world. And you guys are definitely good people. I am so grateful for this community of people who care about the world and care about how others are treated and see the benefit of uplifting everyone. I just am really grateful to that. Yeah, we are a waste right now, and we are wasting. And I truly hope that what comes of this time is a renewal and a commitment to the lives of people and making the pursuit of happiness really come to life. But right now, I'm going to remind you again, in Kansas, you have an entire group of people, trans people in Kansas, no longer have their own identity because the state has rendered their identification papers null and void if they don't reflect the gender at birth. assigned at birth. Assigned. So remember that. Right now in America, there are people who don't have their own identification because the government said, we don't see you. That's wrong. That's not American. That's not freedom. And I don't care what you think about trans lifestyle. I don't give a shit. Not your business. You should be in full support of their ability to thrive and access the same shit you do and be able to rent a car and not be harassed or be sued because they appear in a bathroom and somebody decides they don't like them. That is the antithesis of what I thought we were supposed to be. So we got to do better. So please vote in November. I know it seems like it's whatever you think it might be, but please, let's see if we can change the ship. Let's see if we can right this. Let's see if we can undo some of the damage that's been done. That's what I think. Well, that was what I think. Thank you so much for coming. I know I was very ranty today. Can we be in your cabinet? Yeah, we're going to have like the beautiful figure because I smoke too much weed. And that's fine. Yeah, and please get everyone, take people to the polls, find out how you can help people get to the polls and get informed, and just really share as much information about how to be informed as a voter, because it's hard. It takes a lot of work, and it's shitty that we have to do that, but that's where we are right now, is that it's more important than ever to do an informed vote. So, anyway. All right. I'll see you tomorrow morning. I'm not sure what time. I'm so sorry. I know this has been very janky with the times, but I'll see what the situation is for tomorrow morning, and then I will put the appropriate thing. But right now it's set for 9 o'clock Pacific time. So thank you for coming. I really appreciate your indulgence and listening to things and, whatever, and getting real frustrated. So I hope you can let it go and have the rest of your day be peaceful and restorative. And I will see you, hopefully, tomorrow morning.